Welcome to Screencast, Kinda Funny's only entertainment-based podcast where we come together and discuss movies, TV shows, and streaming services. If you want to watch us live, you can go to twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. If you don't have time for all that, that's fine. You can catch us on YouTube/kindafunny or roosterteeth.com. If you just want to listen to our audio, you can go to all your favorite podcast services or SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/kindafunny screencast. Yeah, and go in there and give us a little subscribe, give us the like. Come on, make us feel
give us a positive
loved.
review.
Oh my God, that would help a lot. That would help a lot.
Give us the 10 out of 10. Give us anything possible.
Anything possible, whatever you can. And if you want to give us less than perfect, please just don't do anything. Just walk away. Walk away.
If you want to give us money, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunny. Again, if you want to give us a little bit of money, just don't even do it. Give us a lot of money.
No, any amount helps. If not, your view is more than enough. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am your host, Kevin Coelho, and to my immediate right, Nick Scarpino, the man with the three-fingered review. Nicholas!
What? I'm sorry.
It's never going to get old. It's never going to get old.
Hey, everyone. What's going on? What's cracking, man?
You watch anything good this week?
Fuck yeah, I watched Endgame.
We're gonna save all the Endgame.
Fuck everything else. Fuck everything else.
We've got a lot of news to go through.
And before we get to anything, I want to say it will be spoiler-free.
Fuck no, it won't.
Until it will be spoiler-free.
I'm gonna fucking
until we say that it's spoiler-filled, and then it will be spoiler-filled.
No, we'll be nice. We'll be good. I don't want to be like that. Yeah.
Also, the rules still stand. Anyone in the Twitch chat that is spoiling stuff, you're gonna get your ass banned for life.
Until we get to spoiler mode.
Until we get to spoiler mode. Obviously, come on. They can put 2 and 3 together. You know what I mean?
Other
It's
shows
5.
like Games Daily and stuff. Like, don't put that shit.
Yeah. Don't go and do that. Nicholas, did you watch anything aside from Endgame?
It's
okay
I'm
if you
still
didn't.
making my way through Bosch, which I love. Bosch season 5, I think.
5, yeah. It came out last week.
It's so good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's really good. They did something really nice with this season where the prior seasons were kind of had a really intense overarching story that we're kind of just like really dedicated to. This one has 3 or 4 other stories that are happening, so you get a lot more of the other detectives. But it's really cool. It's a great. I think they really. They knocked it out of the park with this season. And then, of course, and more importantly, I just got to the Fast and Furious episode of Psych last night. So I'm rewatching Psych, and they did their Fast and Furious episode. A lot of Paul Walker references.
Fantastic.
And then, so that's where I'm at right now.
Tight.
Yeah.
And then to your right, my left, Tim Choo Choo Gettys.
Tim Choo Choo, get on the hype train. I want to say that I saw in the chat people are asking where Mark Ellis is. Mark Ellis's flight got delayed to the point of cancellation.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was delayed an hour, and then when he was on the tarmac after an hour, they said, hey, it's going to be 2 more hours. We're going to get an update in 2 hours. Oof. And I think at that point, everyone on the plane was like, let me off this fucking plane.
We're going home, baby.
So they literally, I guess, taxied back to the gate and let everyone off, and he was just like, I'm gonna go.
Is it bad weather on our side? Or?
They said it was bad weather in San Francisco, but when I got his text at like 8:30, I looked out, I was like, it's fucking clear skies right now.
Well, South San Francisco might be screwed,
I'm sure what happened was it was foggy in the morning, and then that backed everything up to the point of just fucking everything. That's what always happens.
So it's just us.
It's annoying. But anyway, we're hoping to get Mark back on the show in a couple weeks when he's here for that May 10th show. So just as I don't know if you've done housekeeping yet. No, we haven't done that yet.
I don't.
That as a housekeeping thing. If you guys want to go to Mark Ellis Live, me, Mark, and some other special guests are going to be doing 2 shows at Milk Bar in San Francisco on May 10th. That's a Friday, and if you guys want to come out for the earlier show, it's going to be great. The later show is going to be utter shenanigans because I'm sure we'll all be drunk by then.
I kind of want to watch both.
I think you guys should absolutely come for both.
Yeah.
It'll be a blast. Again, tickets are at markellislive.com if you guys want to check that out. Greatly appreciate it. I'll be there, and I'm sure these guys will be as well. I think Joe's coming too because she likes Milk Bar a lot.
Fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
Joe's fun.
Tim, have you watched anything good this week?
Let me put it this way. I am so overtaken with Endgame, whether it was the hype going in, watching it, or just like what I'm still experiencing now, that like I don't remember if I watched anything else. I have no idea at all. Yeah.
I can confirm that the only other thing that I watched, well, I guess there's one more thing, but I'll talk about that in a second, is Infinity War. I watched Infinity War on Wednesday.
Going in.
There were many different options how to watch it. I chose to watch it on the 4K disc. It's so pretty.
It's very pretty.
It's so pretty. What an excellent.
Yeah, if anything, if I watch anything, I'll remember and tell you later, but I don't think I did.
I don't remember exactly how things went, but I can't remember if I've already talked about this, but I also watched the last episode of Discovery, and I don't think I had watched that last time we talked.
Last time he had seen it.
Yeah, and I had seen everything but the last episode.
Oh, yeah.
It is phenomenal.
I honestly want to do a spoiler cast.
I know.
So
it would be a lot of
we
fun.
need me, you, and whoever. If there's one more person in the office, that's
Greg
done it.
is almost done.
If he's almost done, great. If
Yeah.
not, I think you and I let's just talk about it because I'm fucking champing at the bit right now
Yep.
to talk about the
There's
end
so
of Discovery.
much that I want to discuss.
So well done.
Yeah.
So many. I mean, you talk about. Listen, people have figured out that with these shows, apparently there's diehard fans, and that if you give them some fan service, they'll love you forever. And that's all. Like Discovery,
There's a lot of diehard
Game
fans
of Thrones. We're all getting these moments that we all want, and it's like, no, they didn't do that. Oh my god, they did do that. They fucking know. They respect me. It's almost like
Respect me.
the people who are making Star Trek are Star Trek fans. It's weird. It's weird when you get that. And when people want to pay, homage and honor what's come before it and add to it rather than tear it down.
Right? It's great. All right.
Side note, seeing the fucking Star Wars trailer on that Dolby screen.
That's very pretty.
Because my wife leaned over to me. She's like, I'm not seeing Star Wars with you. And I was like, totally fine. Then halfway through the trailer, as I'm crying, when fucking Billy D. Williams pops on
You
screen, I'm
cry
like,
way too
I'm
easy.
Like, you gotta see Star Wars. I'm like, you gotta see Star Wars with me. But dude, Lando coming back, just one more ride. Oh, come on, son.
It's something special, and like I'm glad that I'm excited again for Star Wars.
I loved that going into Endgame, the trailers that we saw just back to back to back. It was
gonna say that, yeah.
Mission Impossible, or sorry, not Mission Impossible, Men in Black, a trailer that I hadn't seen yet that made it look a lot better than the last trailer did.
Not
was-
great though.
No, not great. Not great, but a lot better than the last
This
time.
week we're not doing trailer talk, and that was one of the. There's that one in Gemini Man, which I was
we saw
considering
the
to put in there.
the final Dark Phoenix trailer, which
Yeah.
is like,
God.
cool, we know what this movie is. Then there's Detective Pikachu, Lion King,
good.
Star Wars 9. I'm like,
Yeah.
we're living
Dude,
in the best time.
I'm gonna
right
say
now.
this:
Yeah.
like I've been pretty lukewarm on Lion King until I saw that trailer on the big screen, and you hear the music.
God.
It's so good. I just got
it's
chills
cool.
right now.
really
I'm
hit
excited.
hard, and like
Yeah, your
even
nipples
my
are hard,
wife,
yeah.
who's just not really into any of that stuff, was like.
Yeah.
I was like, what'd you think of that Lion King trailer? And she's like, she's like, I have the fucking cartoon memorized. Like, it's so impossible not to love that music and want to just re-see it again, you know?
So good.
It was cool to
Very
see your
looking
wife
forward to it.
yesterday too. Come out to see Endgame.
She came out.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, how come did Nick get snapped because he wasn't in that picture? And no, we were tired and we just immediately said bye to everyone
You guys
and left.
Ran right off.
We just
You
banged
didn't
out.
pee though, Nick.
3 hours.
So
in.
proud of you.
I made it through.
So proud of you.
I made it through all the trailers. I peed right before I came. That's not fair. I left at about 6:14. Came back around 6:16. I was halfway through one of the trailers. I think it was like Hobbs and Shaw or some shit like that.
We all saw Hobbs and Shaw.
Oh my god.
And then I made it through all the trailers and the entire movie and some of the credits too. Before I was like, no, I'll go. I didn't even have to pee at the end. And I think the key was I got a small diet soda, but John Drake peed 3 times, so he peed enough for all of us.
That is true.
So between John peeing and Andrea crying the entire time, I think we all got all the liquid out.
No one cried. Well, we shouldn't
I
be
cried.
discussing.
We'll
We need to
save
save
the
this. We
crying
need to
for
save
later.
crying talk for later. Anyways. Now it's time for some housekeeping. First, we want to thank Patreon producer David Mintel. The Mind Freak. Also, this show is brought to you by our sponsors. This week is Robinhood and HelloFresh. But more about that later. Now it's time for some news.
News.
Nick, this first story, it's just for you.
Let's do it.
James Bond 25 story details, filming location, and official cast revealed
Love it.
this week.
Yeah, we got Remy Malek as the bad guy.
Yeah,
Lee
cool.
Sudow's coming back. We've got Anna de Armas
On
running
a
the
date,
cast.
fucking Armis.
And also, that's what I love about them. Like, they did a live stream, which I didn't watch because I just wasn't aware of it at the time. I followed James Bond on Twitter, but I didn't see any of this shit until last night. Anyway.
Do you mean Daniel Craig or is there a James
No,
Bond?
there's a James Bond
Yeah.
Twitter feed. It's for all the movies.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that makes
keeping up.
sense.
But what's awesome is they went to GoldenEye, which is Ian Fleming's like villa in Jamaica, which you can rent out, which I want to do for my
that's
40th
really
birthday
cool.
so bad.
yeah.
But it might have to be my 50th birthday because it's fucking really expensive.
Yeah.
Also, everyone has to fly to Jamaica. Are you guys down? Cool.
I'm 100% down to fly to Jamaica.
They did a live stream and then they took some pictures from that. And I'm like, we were talking earlier, and I think one of the things they're starting to realize is, Bond is a little bit of a relic of a bygone era where Bond treated his friends and the women in his life as sort of disposable things. And I think that was what they were going for. And that was sort of what the concept of manliness and Bondness was supposed to be back then. But I think now they're starting to realize, like, hey, Fast and Furious, Mission Impossible, all these action movies are enjoying a lot of success, bringing back some of the characters from before. That's actually not fair. I shouldn't say that, because Bond always had like M, and always had Moneypenny and all these characters. But I think they're starting to be a bigger part of the stories now, and I think that behooves them. I'm also making all this up, so I think I could be totally wrong. They could all die in the first scene.
I love how you started this off, and you landed the plane perfectly. But you started off saying like, I love they did this. They did this live stream. I didn't watch it, and then like immediately when you said that, it gave me a flashback to Zoolander when Owen Wilson's just like, yeah, you know, he's a really successful musician. He's putting out a lot of music. I don't listen to it, but the fact that he's making it, I respect that.
I respect that he's making it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This could not.
But dude, let me tell you this.
Do less for me.
Let me hype you up a little bit, right? Obviously, Rami Malek, we love. Bringing Lee Sudo back, I think is cool. I think she did great in the last one when it fucking came out, which I didn't like that much, but she was great in Spectre. Anna de Armas taking it up a notch. Naomi Harris coming back as Moneypenny's great. Ralph Fiennes coming back as M, great. But the fact that they got Cary Fukunaga to direct this thing, and he's the guy that did True Detective season 1. This gives me, I'm very interested in this.
Yeah,
in Bond 25. I think it's going to have a very distinctively different tone. I think it's going to be a lot more intricate and intense.
That's my
It's
problem.
going to be way different.
Is don't have Daniel Craig. Just have it be some new guy. Then like there's too much. We're now Metal Gear Solid 4.
I tripped out when I saw the live stream though, because it said I just saw cast revealed and the word GoldenEye, and I was like, are they fucking remaking GoldenEye? Because that would have been amazing. But
Yeah, that would have been a bad call though.
I don't know. Daniel Craig's the wild card because
It's in every other movie situation.
He really doesn't.
So at least we're going to a good place now.
Yeah, he's been very outspoken about not wanting to reprise the role, and then has backtracked on that.
Because
So
they keep giving him more and more money.
well, I think he also realized, like, I think, he was looking at The Girl with Dragon Tattoo as sort of like movies like that as kind of a way out, and it didn't really work out so well for him. Recently, I went back and watched Layer Cake again, which is such a fucking phenomenal movie.
Layer Cake.
Yeah, that was the movie that kind of put him on the map. It's a crime movie, a British crime movie. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix right now. It's fucking great. It's great cast. It's him. It's not Guy Ritchie. I want to say it's Danny Boyle. That might be. No, it's Matt Vaughn, the guy that did. It's one of Matt Vaughn's first movies. The guy that did X-Men First Class and Kingsman. He made it, and it's very much
cool.
like a cool, stylized, like heist crime movie set in England. It's very, very good.
It was very interesting. I watched what was this? There's a heist movie with Daniel Craig in it as like the explosive expert. You watched
Logan Lucky.
Logan Lucky.
And
Which
like,
I did not like.
I liked it a lot. Hated the ending, but that doesn't matter. I just thought it was really interesting to see Daniel Craig as such a different character.
He is having fun with that one.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was cool. It was very interesting.
The movie was very, very watchable.
Yeah.
I will say that. I know a lot of people like it. I see why people like it. It's just for me tonally, I was like, I don't know. I don't like movies that I can't tell if it's supposed to be a comedy or not.
It's a dark comedy.
Yeah,
right?
it was.
Where it's like, oh, hey, this is funny, but also like,
But
look
also,
at how
if they had tweaked it
horrible
just a
things
little
are.
bit, it could have been a really intense like crime movie, or it could have been zany. And I was like, I want this to be zany. Like the trailer was zany. Like Daniel Craig is this like Southern hillbilly. I was like,
Explosives
explosive
expert,
guy.
yeah.
Should be funny, but every scene just felt like it was lacking energy, and I was like, I don't know what this is supposed to be. Anyway, I see why people like it. It's just not for me. Oh, also I started watching Barry. Finally, I broke down and just started watching it.
I was gonna say something else about the. And another big thing that's happening is that IMAX tweeted out a picture of the, what is it called? The sticks.
Oh, the
They're doing
clapboard.
The clapboard. Yeah, they're doing James Bond in IMAX. There's no
Confirmation.
I'm sure
of
they'll
no
do that.
confirmation of how much of it is going to be in IMAX.
I
but
hope it's all, man.
I
I'd
hope
love
it's
to
all.
see a
Yeah.
transition for more movies doing.
Well,
that.
I think the technology is there, and honestly, I think before it used to be budgetary. It used to be a lot. It used to be a big drain on post, and especially if you had to use the IMAX cameras. But now we've got 65 and 70 millimeter digital cameras from like every major camera vendor does an IMAX format or close to IMAX format, close enough. So I think you could probably do that. It's just it is a lot more data wrangling because you're dealing with what, like, is it 6K or 8K? I want to say it's 6K, right? IMAX.
I thought it was 8K, but
Maybe. Yeah.
no idea.
I
I know
think
normal
some
movies-
weird thing.
I know a normal 35 print's supposed to be around 4K, right? Ish.
I believe so.
I don't know. Either way, cool. Listen, I love Bond, but they do have an uphill battle with me. They need
everyone.
to show me something really good because the last couple have just been like, honestly, Spectre I thought was a snooze fest, and I thought they still had a lot of old school relics that I just don't want in there. I don't need Bond. Like, I don't need my Bond to fuck everything. I just don't need that, and it's creepy now. And in this day and age, it's like we don't need that anymore. And I also want to see more. I do want to see more of the team, and I don't know. It's weird. It's not James Bond to say that, but I realize that James Bond, the character, is supposed to be this like broken rogue lone wolf, but I feel like Cary
Easier
Fukunaga
is
can do
that
something.
just his latest iteration?
No, that's always. I mean, that's how he started. Let's just put it that way.
Because I feel like Sean Connery wasn't so much.
He
that.
definitely was.
Really?
Yeah, he was dark. Sean Connery's Bond was dark. Roger Moore's Bond was when he was like, I'm not gonna do any of that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
fun.
like Seiko watches and lasers and shit. And we're gonna go to space and it's gonna be awesome. And no matter what anyone says, he still made all the fun Bond movies, and his are my favorite.
I feel like now is the time we needed a new Bond, and I think that this is just now the fifth movie in a franchise that has proven that cannot have consistency in anything, whether it's quality, cast, or fucks given by its star.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, and you look back through the eras of Bond, and it's always been hit or miss. You know, it's always been the first couple that every new Bond does was held as some of the better ones because there's a new energy and a new team coming to it. You know, like when Pierce Brosnan picked it up with GoldenEye. GoldenEye is great. You go back and watch that, and it's dated, but it's a cool, fun movie, and I thought he brought a good energy to it. Same with Timothy Dalton. When Timothy Dalton came in with The Living Daylights, that's a good movie. It's fun. He's totally different than Roger Moore, you know. But then he followed up The Living Daylights with License to Kill. It was fucking terrible. It was just bad. Like,
Well, that had a
half
lot
the
of
budget.
production issues, right?
I don't know what happened, but it was bad.
Yeah.
And then they kicked him out and got Pierce Brosnan in, and then GoldenEye was great.
I loved Pierce Brosnan.
And
like,
then
it's so
they went super zany with it and those movies started. You know,
GoldenEye
Tomorrow
is
Dies
super
was fun.
zany too, though.
GoldenEye is, but yeah, it was. It was so silly in parts,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it was.
but they
It was a
definitely take it
well-constructed
much
movie.
further.
And they put a little heart into it, where he had, his friend was the character
Right.
that dies and then comes back and he's conflicted. So they had a lot of good stuff going in that. But by the time you get to The World Is Not Enough, it's just like, why do we do this? And I think honestly, it's because I think one of the big things is it's just not building upon itself. Like, you have such an opportunity now when you're making 7 or 8 or 9 or infinite number of movies to build out a world, and I just don't think they're taking advantage of that yet. I don't think they're like, we should see some of these characters come back. They should be more than just these templated femme fatales or damsel in distresses or dude who does the tech thing for 1 second. Like, we've learned with Benji and with Luther that we actually, the guy that sits in the van can be fun, and
You
we
can
can learn
build a
more about him, and that
relationship,
guy can be the best friend. And so again, I'm not saying that any of this stuff necessarily builds into what Bond is, because Bond traditionally has been a broken lone rogue soldier who's all of the style and class and all that stuff is just a fucking facade. It's a shield he puts up because he knows he can die at any given second. But at the same time, I'm very hopeful that the writing team and Cary Fukunaga can really fucking knock this out of the park and bring us something different, because he's traditionally done that.
Do you know the premise for this movie? Bond is in retirement in Jamaica, which I didn't realize that's where what's his face
Originally,
went to retire.
so Ian Fleming wrote all the books at GoldenEye, which is why the movie was named GoldenEye. He never wrote a book called GoldenEye, but they named the movie GoldenEye because that's what his resort was called, or villa rather. And in the books, James Bond was stationed in Jamaica, and he was part of an exports. His cover was he was an export agent in Jamaica, and so a lot of the stuff comes from that.
Starts around there,
and
yeah.
there's a lot of short stories and stuff that are based in Jamaica. He did a bunch of short stories of Bond that
cool.
are based in Jamaica. So it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it happens in Jamaica, it's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it takes like it starts in Jamaica where he's retired and he's chilling in Jamaica, and his friend Felix hits him up and is like, "Hey, I need help saving someone. Like someone's been kidnapped." Yeah,
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
That's perfect. That's awesome. That sounds fun.
Yeah, no, it does.
Hey,
but at the
you
same
gotta,
time,
like,
it's
and
got all
again-
this baggage with it.
True, but the Felix Leiter character and that relationship with Bond has always been something that I felt like could be way explored more.
Yeah.
Way explored
And
more.
they've hinted at that. I feel like
have.
even from Casino Royale, so you meet Felix there, right? Yeah.
Well, you mean the new Felix there. Felix has been in the series for a long time.
Right. But this is, I feel like Casino Royale to now is all...
We built it a little bit more, yeah.
It's a little more structured.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, moving on to our next story. Netflix prices are going up.
Excellent.
Now, Netflix announced the price hikes in January. An email went out to subscribers as a reminder that the plan is going up by $1 or $2. So just be on the lookout for that. We announced it a while ago that the prices were going up, but it's actually now going into effect. The prices of basic plans will rise from $8 to $9, 11 to 13, and 14 to 16. So just be aware that's going out. Really interesting time. like
Really
when
unfortunate for Netflix,
Yeah.
man. Because here's the thing: Disney Plus comes out, knocks it out of the park, has a great, amazing price point, and
At half
we're
the
here
price.
pundits
Yeah.
talking about all this stuff. But then there's a ton of people that don't keep up with the news, don't understand what any of this stuff means. But you know what they do understand when they turn on their Netflix and it says your price is going up to $16. Because I talked to Gia about all this stuff, so she's kind of half on the inside, but she saw that and was just like, they're raising it to $16 and Disney just announced $7. And I'm
Yeah.
like, when you're this upset about this,
Yeah.
you got to imagine when this thing comes out, like what's that going to do to Netflix when they lose all of the Disney licenses over time?
It's not gonna be
And they're
good.
going to have to step their game up and make more original content. Hopefully this is all good for everybody. And I think that it will shake out that way, but
Let me put it
$16
this way:
is a lot of money, man.
if Netflix hits $20 a month, I will definitely think about canceling it at that point. Because
you
there's
sound
just,
very certain there.
well, it's one of those things. Like I watch Netflix very casually these days
Yeah.
because there's just not a ton of stuff that interests. I mean, it comes in waves, obviously. Like I've finished kind of watching all the comedy specials that I want to watch with it, but like that's pricey. That's really pricey. Like, and
Absolutely.
especially when you're talking about like. Yeah, some of the great shit coming on Disney Plus or Disney. What is it called?
Disney Plus is
Disney
correct,
Plus. Yeah. Tim, it makes a good point. And then, granted, right now at this price point, it doesn't have to be either or with me. It can be both.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, if I'm starting to pay close to like $30 for 2 streaming services, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just interesting that like Netflix's baseline, like the cheapest one is now going to be $9 unless they implement the like $4 mobile one that they were talking about. But as of right now, their cheapest one is $9, and Disney, they only have one option as far as we've been told, and it's the $7 tier one, and then you get like all the quality that you
Yeah.
want. You don't have to pay that higher
for the
premium.
4K.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it really is. Some other Netflix news that came out this week is Netflix Oscar eligibility remains intact as the Academy votes to not change key rule. So earlier
That's
this
good
week,
news for the perfect date.
yeah, okay, the perfect date has a
I
chance.
feel like there's some shade being thrown now from this side of the table. Not so much from there, but this side of the table, Mr. Captain Dead inside.
Hey, I'm the one that throwing it out for Oscar eligibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're being fucking cheeky about it.
yeah,
though.
you're
You-
being
I
a
will
little,
shit on you
you're being
physically.
very
Jesus
cheeky.
Christ!
You're being very cheeky about it, and I don't. How dare you?
I'm happy that like they because last year this was a big controversial topic with
Yeah.
Roma, like being
Having to be
nominated for
put out in
Best
theaters
Picture and
and-
winning
yeah.
several Oscars.
They put out, what did they put out? Roma. They put out that Sandra Bullock movie that I never watched. The
Oh,
Blind,
the Bird Box. But that
and
didn't.
one other
Did that
one.
get nominated for anything?
No, but they put like 3 movies in theaters out.
Oh,
and
I
can't
didn't
remember-
realize
I
Bird
can't
Box
remember.
went to theaters,
I
but
feel like it had
makes
a
sense.
limited release. I could be wrong though. I remember there was a run of like 3, and Roma was one of them.
Yeah.
and obviously Roma being one of them at the end of the year was strategic for Academy
Absolutely.
Awards and won. So that's great. Have I watched it yet? Nope.
It's not good. Don't watch it.
It looks boring as
It's
fuck.
so boring.
My wife liked it.
Well, yeah, but like your
She-
wife
but she
is
liked
like
it
a
because she likes-
sophisticated woman.
Yeah, she likes
and
Mexico
we're
City.
idiots.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. But good for them. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, if we have to evolve. If the Academy Awards want to stay relevant, and let me tell you, they have never been less relevant than they are right now.
Yeah.
Sadly, they need to accept these streaming services as legitimate content delivery platforms or movie delivery platforms. I should
Yeah,
say.
and like I think this is a good thing. Like anytime you give a company like Netflix a reason to push itself higher, to
quality
make
shit.
quality shit, so that they can stand there with an Oscar and say, "Hey, we won a Best Picture movie," which is still, regardless of like how not a big deal the Oscars are, Best Picture is still a big
No, there's
deal.
still. Don't get me wrong. There's still a huge
Yeah.
deal. I just think that culturally, like people are moving more away from those because I think there's a lot, especially since, and this might just be a personal bias, especially since I've read a lot about sort of just the politics that go into it.
Yeah.
I'm like, people aren't really. It's not. I've always known the Oscars aren't 100% merit based, but now more than ever, it just seems like people are buying those awards.
But
and it's kind of
I would say that Oscars are more culturally relevant than they've ever been because now that all those movies are instantly accessible by people, I feel like many more people are like, I'm going to watch them all. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Which is
but I also feel
what
like
I did this year or last year.
I also feel like there's a psychological thing where people will go, oh, it's already available on streaming platforms. It's disposable. Like I think to some degree movies are losing their specialness because there's just so many of them now.
I feel like that the opposite of that is true.
Yeah.
Where it's like before when it was like, well, it's still in the theaters, and I want to wait to be able to watch it at home, or I don't want to
I
go.
want to wait for it to be
Yeah.
free because it's not worth money to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, That's a lot of Oscar-nominated movies for me because a lot of those movies are smaller films that are good, but I don't necessarily want to sit in the theater and watch. Like I didn't see The Favorite. I didn't see I didn't see a lot of this. I didn't see watch Roma, but I don't really want to go to Alamo Draft House to catch that weird odd showing of it. There's like 2 showings a day.
Right,
and I'm
right.
like,
The weird
4 o'clock and
kabuki,
8 o'clock.
But like it was cool. I think at the end of the year, you could have watched like 5 out of the 8 nominated movies.
I ended up seeing a couple extra that were in there because a couple of them kind of came to streaming platforms right as the Academy Awards was about to happen. So I think I watched like 2 other ones that I wouldn't have watched.
They were
otherwise.
rentable.
Maybe I rented them.
Yeah. Because I know I rented several of them. And
I can't remember which one I did.
Honestly, like my favorite things about the Oscars coming around every year is that like we get a list of like, here's 10 really good movies.
You should watch.
Yeah, 7 of which you probably haven't seen. Go and make an effort to watch them. And that's what I did last year. That's what it was.
Yeah, I made an effort to watch. I watched Black Klansman and I think one other one beforehand.
I really
ended
enjoyed
up watching
Black
Green
Klansman.
Book on a plane flight, and I was like, I'm kind of glad I didn't pay for that.
Yeah.
This is good, but
It was good.
I definitely don't think it deserves to win.
Yeah. I was shocked that it won Best Picture, right?
Yeah. It was. You weren't alone.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, myself included, now looking back at that, I'm like, great movie, really well made, great acting, but kind of just kind of skips across the pond of the subject matter a little bit. Doesn't really deep dive. You know what I mean? But either way.
Yeah, the character changes very quickly and for very little reason. From
one?
being a dude that's
The main
throwing
character
away
or Viggo
glasses
Mortensen?
Viggo Mortensen.
Well, you get the fact that they're supposed to be together for a long time. They're on like a 3-month tour or whatever.
Right,
so they influence each other. I thought that was nice.
but I feel like we didn't see that. They just kind of told us that that happened.
we got a little bit of it. What is that? Tim's pointing at something.
Yeah, he's pointing at
What is it, Lassie? What is it, Lassie?
Star Trek animated series coming to Nickelodeon.
Teen Star Trek animated series. Hot.
It's animated. It's a cartoon.
Don't judge me, bruh.
Jessica Rabbit's
You're
hot.
right.
Oh
it's
my
true.
God.
Jessica Rabbit is very hot. A new original CG animated Star Trek series following a group of lawless teens who discover a derelict Starfleet ship and use it to search for adventure, meaning, and salvation. Is
This actually
heading
sounds cool.
Yeah, it does. It sounds really cool.
Yeah.
It's heading to Nickelodeon.
I just feel like, and this is going to be a bold statement.
Yeah.
But I just feel like I want to live in a time where there's always a Star Trek show on.
Me too.
I was going to say that.
It was way too long that we didn't have a Star Trek show.
Yeah, between, what was the last one before that? Was it
Enterprise,
Enterprise?
yeah.
Yeah, between Enterprise and Discovery, come on, guys.
Way too long.
Way too fucking
long.
long.
That's insane. I was in middle school with that when Enterprise was happening.
Yeah.
And by the way, have you watched Enterprise?
I never watched Enterprise. I
should
know
give it a
how
watch.
I know that I would love it. I know how it ends, and like I know a lot of people were upset about that, but I love that idea.
I think
awesome.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked Enterprise.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a series a Star Trek series that I haven't liked. The only one I had trouble getting into was Deep Space Nine, which is crazy because everyone says that's the best one.
I have heard that as well. I've yet to watch Deep Space Nine.
but
I've seen Voyager, all of Voyager, multiple times.
I really like Voyager,
Not a very popular one online,
which
though.
is weird though.
Yeah.
You know the concept of Voyager? Voyager's like Gilligan's Island, where the Voyager gets sent like way the fuck out into like the Delta Quadrant. Maybe it's not the Delta Quadrant. Which one?
No,
of the
it is the
quadrants?
Delta Quadrant. I was laughing at like the fact that Tim's just sitting there being like,
Stop talking about Star Trek.
yeah.
Anyway, you should get
Why are you
Voyager's
telling me the
great.
premise?
No, I'm sorry. That's a good
No,
point. I'm wasting people's
it's
time.
fine. No, you're not wasting people's time. You're opening the world to kids out there all over.
What the fuck did that mean?
I'm saying he's
You're
pushing.
opening the world to kids out there.
I'm
all
saying
over?
he's pushing Star Trek, and I was going to use
I'm
that to
telling
go
the
back to
kids.
the story.
I'm telling the kids they should watch Star Trek.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you
There's
become such a
another way to
fucking
take that,
old
but-
monster?
Anyways,
You're a curmudgeonly old monster.
It's very interesting that they're going to do an animated show that like takes place with these little savages.
Do we know what time period this is in? Like,
No,
what?
we don't. It
Okay.
doesn't to say, but I'm very curious. Now, you watched the Star Trek shorts, did you?
I did not watch short tracks.
Okay.
No, not yet.
You should watch the short tracks.
I probably should. I probably should have watched those before this season because I was really confused in one of the episodes.
Me too.
Like,
Super
where the
confused.
fuck
Where
did
did
this
this
character come from?
There was one short trek that takes place 1,000 years.
Short Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Star Trek shorts.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's
They're
one
like
short trek.
20 minutes? How long are they?
15, I believe.
15?
Yeah, somewhere around there. It takes place 1,000 years in some future. They're
Cool.
very vague
I'll watch
on
'em.
when it is, but like it kind of seems like Starfleet isn't a thing anymore. It'd be really cool if that's where this show takes place.
That could be fun.
Where these kids,
where they find a derelict starship like
Yeah.
the Enterprise, or
Yep.
not the Enterprise. It wouldn't be Enterprise. It would
I mean, it could be.
maybe
It could
the
be.
15th iteration of Enterprise,
Yeah.
whatever it is. That could be cool.
Yeah, and so that could be really interesting. And also in this story, there was a bunch of other little details that I wanted to talk about. The Yet Untitled series will debut exclusively on Nickelodeon, making the first kid-centric series in the Star Trek franchise. And the second upcoming animated Star Trek series after Star Trek Lower Decks on CBS All Access. Star Trek Lower Decks from Michael McCann, Rick and Morty, will be animated series targeted for mature audiences. I had no idea that we were getting another animated Star Trek show
I don't either.
that is aimed at mature audiences
I didn't know that either.
from one of the dudes that is doing Rick and Morty.
That's intense.
That's very intense. That's going to be interesting. We're getting a lot of Star Trek.
It's a little too much Star Trek.
Yeah,
man.
well,
now I'm backing it
I'm
up.
not done yet. Let me keep
I'm
going.
backing it off.
Meanwhile, an untitled Star Trek series featuring Sir Patrick Stewart reprising his role as Jean-Luc Picard,
Yeah.
and the Section 21 spin-off with Michelle...
Section 21 or 31?
21. That's what this said. I thought it was 31 also.
it was Section 31.
I just copied and pasted. Michelle Yeoh are also in developments. So that's 4 Star Trek shows on top of Discovery. We're about to have 5 Star Trek shows.
Maybe it is Section 20. No, it's Section 31. That's weird. They must
Okay,
have
it
missed-
is Section 31?
Well, yeah, I think it's Section...
Okay.
Yeah, it's Section 31 because that's the Secret Service or the CIA of
Yeah.
the Star Trek or NSA. Yeah.
So all these projects will be debuting exclusively on CBS All Access, with the exception of this teen Star Trek animated series, which is on Nickelodeon. That's right. I'm really excited. I want more Star Trek. Maybe not this much Star Trek, but it
Well,
seems like we're
fuck
going
it.
to
You don't
have to be
have to
able
watch
to pick and choose stuff. And I'm curious to see what they do with this animated comedy one.
Well, the animated show's great. I mean, I'll probably get around to those when and if I get around to them. But I mean, to be honest, this is Nickelodeon shit.
I wasn't talking about the Nickelodeon.
But Picard is going to be the fucking bees. That's right, Tim. Knees. Do you understand me?
I do.
Having fucking Patrick Stewart come back and do a Picard show, so cool. So fucking cool. Can't wait. Cannot wait.
So ready. This next story is Disney could end up owning all of Hulu.
Good.
When the Walt Disney Company acquired 21st Century Fox, one of the acquisitions included the company's 30% stake in Hulu. That gave the company 60% stake in Hulu. NBC is thinking about selling their 33% stake.
Great.
They weren't allowed
Consolidate
to.
the services, man. Like, this is only good news for the users at the end of the day. It's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of the like hubbub of like, oh, Disney's a monopoly in this way and that way. It's like, look, they are in so many
Yeah,
ways.
Disney's a monopoly, just like fucking Comcast is a
Let that
monopoly.
benefit you. You know,
Comcast owned NBC.
Yeah.
Like when they bought NBC and it owned the 33% stock of Hulu,
Yeah.
in their contract, they weren't allowed to do anything with it until 2018. So now that they have
that makes
control
sense.
and they're thinking about selling it.
Yeah, that was. I remember when that was consolidating. It was like Vivendi, Universal, all those deals. They always go through those antitrust hearings where people are like, "You're getting real powerful."
Yeah, real big.
And that's just the way it goes. You know, that's what happens. You make
Yeah.
good content. You start making some money. You start buying. When are we going to buy
Making
something?
smart moves.
When we get successful.
yeah.
We're still at
steps
the like
away.
being bought phase, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Some company comes in and saves this, buy us, anyone, please.
It's fine. It's fine. Come on, Warner. What's up?
It's just interesting. Right now, NBC has something like 17% of all of Hulu's content. So if that deal ended, they would lose a substantial chunk. But if Disney were to pick it up and needed a place to put their more adult content, Hulu would be a great place to just fill that.
This is where I just don't really understand what percentage of ownership actually means in terms of content, in terms of licensing, in terms of like who makes what and why things are put where. But I feel like the closer we get to 100%, the more control Disney's going to have, obviously, and what that means for the future of Hulu. I don't ever think that Hulu and Disney Plus are going to be fully integrated because Hulu does have all the live TV or like next day TV stuff going on, and I can't imagine that being on Disney Plus because there's a lot of stuff.
I also can't imagine that's that lucrative for Hulu. Like
all
obscure shows.
It's not obscure shows. It's like TV.
Yeah, I mean,
Modern
it's
TV.
like
Fair.
current ongoing
But
television
I have to
shows.
imagine.
Yeah.
I have
To
to
get
imagine the licensing for that is really expensive, and the margins aren't that great for Hulu.
But that's where you got to imagine a
You know what
company
I mean?
having
Like, unless it's like
33%.
The Big Bang Theory, it's always like they got a bunch of.
Best thing is, it's The Bachelor. It's like literally everything people watch week to week to week to week to week.
Well, I was gonna say when a company has a large percentage of stock like that, they have interest in keeping the service successful. So you would imagine that would help broker deals for these TV shows. So I feel like losing that connection is very iffy. But at the same time, now maybe NBC is going to get paid for those things. So maybe this could be beneficial for NBC, and maybe, some of the shittier shows get cut out of the rotation, but those higher ranking shows stay on. Hopefully. Bless you.
I like how earlier Kevin and I were screaming at each other because we were talking about Endgame.
It was insane.
And you thought we were fighting.
I thought you were fighting.
We
I was
were
like, oh,
so
this is gonna
excited.
be a shitty
We were
Screencast.
excited. We were so excited.
We were sorry about that, guys.
Sorry,
if you guys are
our
listening.
bad. We just got
Our
really worked
apologies.
up.
But we were just fucking geeking out back there about it.
And
I was
the
eating
last-
Oreo cookies and hanging out.
The last story for today is Disney's killing multiple Fox films, heavily scrutinizing others.
Good.
Now, this is a mix of last week's story with some other add-ons. Disney's killing off several projects in the wake of the big Fox deal. Per the report, film studio chief Alan Horn has jettisoned a number of Fox projects from the development and pre-production slate, including the 170 million tentpole Mouse Guard, which we talked about last week. The Tom Hanks star News of the World. Star.
I don't know.
He's starring in that movie.
That's a weird
That's
verb.
a weird word.
I hate when people do that. Helmer, he's in it. He's a
Yeah.
fucking project. He's the leader. That's fine.
And an adaptation of Angie Thomas's bestseller On the Come Up.
This happens.
Yeah,
Listen,
it does.
whenever a studio chief comes in or another company buys another company, the first thing they always do is historic. You can see the first thing they always do is shit can everyone else's projects and it sucks. But obviously for Disney, they want to own and operate all their projects. So these things are not stuff that they can put their mark on. Great, but then you also have, or they're going to kill it. But then you also have the concept of ego, where you see this with studio heads when they take it over. They don't want the movies coming up to be more successful. Or to be successful because they're not theirs,
right.
So they just shit can them. So, but also to be fair, Disney has a much higher percentage of hits than Fox has been having in recent years. So
Many years.
It's probably not a bad idea to go through all these projects with a fine tooth comb and start to cull some of the ones that aren't going to be so good for them.
Sure. It's interesting,
sad, though,
with the exception of Mouse Guard, these other two movies I hadn't heard about yet. And I'm sure that there's some people out there that were excited for it.
Well, yeah.
And it sucks that Mouse Guard is one of these, but it happens.
It does happen.
Yeah.
And not to say that they can't. I mean, maybe just the project goes into turnaround and someone else picks it up, but we'll see.
Also, Fox projects that are still moving forward, including Kingsman's prequel, The Great Game.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Kingsman at all?
Yeah, I love Kingsman.
Man, Tim, I think you love Kingsman.
No.
The
I think that
second,
and
the
John
second
Wick.
one is not as good.
No, but the first one is very
really
well
good.
done.
The other movies include R.L. Stein's adaptation Fear Street and Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. But
Wait, they killed Steven Spielberg?
no,
West
they
Side Story?
haven't.
I was like, damn, bold.
These are still in
Way to
production,
piss off Spielberg.
but not even these titles are exempt from reprisals. So
I'm gonna go on a limb and say West Side Story is gonna be fine.
that probably is still going to be fine.
Personally, Steven Spielberg West Side Story remake coming out, that actually sounds like a great project and something that's gonna be a pretty big hit.
Does it?
Yeah. Because I think they're
I
going to
don't
get.
know.
I think it's going to be killer. I think musicals are still pretty big deal, given that La La Land started it, Showman kept it going.
Yeah.
We're getting all the Disney musicals that are coming out that are live action, and I feel like West Side Story could be something that could be really fucking cool if done well. And he'll do it well.
Here's my big thing. What has he done well lately?
Spielberg.
Yeah. Because if we look at his IMDb, I feel like it's been a while since he's
Ready
done.
Player One wasn't terrible.
He didn't direct that.
But he produced it.
No, I mean,
And I feel like, it's Spielberg, right?
Yeah.
But also, it's West Side Story. It's already
Yeah.
written. You can't really fuck it up.
Yeah.
It's like that. That's why these Disney movies that are like the live action Disney movies are they're kind of cheating. It's like, we already fucking did this. We already know people like it.
Yeah.
There's a built-in audience for it. I mean, I'm not saying West Side Story is in the
But
same
I feel
level as
like-
Lion King, but to me, I've never seen like a modern. I've never seen the show because they still do West Side Story on Broadway every
Sure.
once in a while. Although bring it around their tour. So to me, seeing it on screen, I'm like, I'm kind of interested in that. You bring a cool cast in, maybe get Ryan Gosling. Let's go, baby.
But I feel like that anytime you're making a remake of something so well known as any of these movies you just mentioned, it's they're gonna get scrutinized to hell. Everyone's gonna compare them to the original.
I don't see that happening with this West Side. I'm sure people will compare it, but the old West Side Story is it's such
old.
a classic. Yeah. And people go back to it, and I just don't see. I think people will look at this and be like, "Oh, cool, they're doing another one," just like they did. They brought Chicago back, and I don't know if there was an actually.
I don't know if there was a Chicago movie.
No, but it was a
musical,
beloved musical,
yeah.
and them doing an interpretation of that on screen. I think people were open to it. Yeah, but I don't know. Did he not direct Ready Player One? People are saying Spielberg directed Ready Player One.
Did he?
I think he did.
Barry, can we get a check on that? Or I guess.
And again, I was actually like,
I thought he didn't. I thought he was just.
Yeah, he directed it.
Oh wow.
I was pleasantly surprised with Ready Player One.
Really?
I didn't think it was good.
I watched it. I was like, I enjoyed it. Again, watched it on the back of a plane, so I had nothing better to do.
The best way to watch a movie.
But I
Especially
wasn't
that type of movie.
I wasn't as. I thought it was going to be boring from start to finish, and there was some stuff that kept my interest, and I thought it was okay.
I thought it was an okay movie. I don't think I would ever like.
I'll never watch it again.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend
it was
anyone
very long,
watch it.
And there was some twists in it
like
that I
if
was
you
like,
had
no
movie
shit.
pass at the time, go watch it. But other than
that's
that, I don't know. Like paying for it.
Can we talk about Endgame now?
Not yet.
Wow.
Give me 2 seconds.
damn it, Kevin.
I want to just
We're
go
43
over.
minutes in.
I know.
We're done. There's stuff out on streaming services.
Yeah,
Let's talk about
There's
Endgame.
one thing out on streaming service.
tell the people.
The Hateful Eight extended version just came out.
Oh, that's cool.
And they've separated in a weird way. Go check it out if you like the Hateful Eight and want to see
Was
a
it on
longer
Netflix?
version of. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, movies out this week. Endgame, obviously, but also a movie. One other movie came out called
Stupid movie.
The White Crow. That's about a young Rudolph Nureyev. I think I nailed that. This top ballet dancer in Russia, like escaping Russia and seeking political asylum.
Sounds stressful.
It like.
Sounds like a
I
solid
watched
number
the trailer.
2 at the box
I
office.
watched the trailer because I was like, "What movie would have the like
Balls.
sheer just not thinking straight to go
We
out
went
on
to
this?"
a fucking movie theater last night, and as you walked down, I looked at every theater, and every
Everything
theater
said
was
Endgame,
playing
yeah.
Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Every theater. 3 of them are private screenings, and I'm like, one day.
Yeah,
One day.
One day.
So I don't have the guy that sits next to me and coughs the entire time and eats his fucking Chipotle for 4
with your
hours.
luck, we put one of our friends that would do that.
Well, I
next
don't
to
mind
you.
telling our friends to fuck off.
Yeah, that's true.
Fuck right off.
Was that your experience last night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That ruined the first hour of the movie for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyways,
I'll
this
tell the
movie,
story in
The
a
White
second.
Crow looks really interesting. And then also for the bronze tier topic for next week, where you can go on patreon.com/kindafunny and support us at $5. You get to submit your responses to my question. This week, I'm looking for some recos. What are you watching on anything? Streaming services, going to the movies? What do you think we should be watching? Let us know. And now it's time for some Endgame talk. No spoilers yet. Spoiler-free Endgame conversation. Let's do this, boys.
Keeping it extremely top level. I can't believe they accomplished what they did.
Yeah.
This movie is, I think, the greatest example of how to close out a saga that we have ever seen, and I also think that we ever will see.
Yeah.
Like 22 movies, it's such a beautiful end, but I think its most impressive achievement is while it closed out the story so far, it left just enough for us to theorize about what the future is going to look like. I'm excited for the future in a way that I wasn't sure I was going to be after this, because this feels like the end all be all. But I think I'm most impressed by the fact that every question that I left with, I feel like is an intentional question they wanted me to be asking.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad like, well, that sucks and this sucks, whatever. They're questions that I'm like, how are they going to solve this? How are they going to fix this? How are they going to explain that? And I think that they will.
What's cool is that like I feel like some things like now there are theories that we have that like are really exciting, and it's like, man, I hope it's this. And I have a feeling that some of our like, and we'll get into it later, but like some of the thing we're thinking like is going to be right on the money. I loved it. It was a difficult movie just in the sense that like so much happened, and it's a movie that like it's going to be hard to rewatch. Like this isn't something I'm going to watch once every 6 months or once a year. Like this is intense. Like I'm gonna have to be in the right mood to watch this, and I loved every single minute of it. Every single minute of it.
Yeah, there was so two things for me like that really kind of nails. I loved it. It was phenomenal. First off, but yeah, I did have someone next to me. Like what happened was the guys next to us had bought a seat that the person didn't show up with, and then some random dude who snuck in was like, "Yo, is that seat taken?" Yeah, of course the seat's taken. The fucking theater sold out. But the dude sitting next to us that were on the other side of the seat just totally wussed out and was like, well, I guess you could sit there. I'm like, you fucked us. You fucked us. Because the guy coughed the entire time and ate his Chipotle for a good hour to the point where John literally looked over me like, are we going to have to like say something to this guy? And the first hour of this movie is incredibly like nuanced. And like there's a lot of emotion going into it, which means it's very quiet. So it bugged the shit out of me. And I was like, oh my God, is this guy going to fucking seriously ruin this for me? But then by hour 3, I totally forgot about that guy and I was into it and I fucking loved it. And not only that,
you were into it beforehand, right?
I was into it beforehand, but I was distracted.
Got it.
To the point where I'm like, oh man, if this guy distracts me the entire time, I'm gonna have to see this movie again over the weekend before we get to in review, because I don't want that to be my experience. And then also I had some things spoiled for me in the comments. KFAF, which I was very disappointed about because I was like, God, I hope these aren't real. And then when the first one was, I was like, oh man, this dude really did that. He really fucking put it like spoiled the comments.
You got AF'd.
Yeah, I got AF like a motherfucker. I deleted the comment, by the way, so no one's gonna see it. But even knowing some of the things that I went in knowing with, and this is a testament to how well this movie's made, it was still incredibly poignant when the things happen. I was like, I know this is gonna happen. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying like any of this shit's like beyond guessing. So it's not like any of this stuff's gonna ruin it. Like I knew that a few things were gonna happen emotionally, and they did. But knowing that something's going to happen and then still having it make you cry is just a testament to how much emotion's tied up in this movie, how well the movie's made, and really how much you could tell the filmmakers and the cast and the crew and everyone that worked on this was just like, we want to make something really special for all the fans that have been with us since day one. And it really feels like they sat and scrutinized like what are the best choices we can make for this? What's going to feel really earned and really validating by the time we get to the end of this, and really what is going to then feel like we've wrapped this up and now given a new energy to what's going to come afterward. And I think they 1,000% accomplished that. By the end of this movie, I'm like, I want to watch the movie again, and B, I'm fucking hyped for whatever's coming next. And I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm hyped.
I also sat next to somebody that was extremely distracting.
I heard him.
She.
Oh,
that's different. No. She cried the entire movie. Like, not the entire movie, but throughout the entire movie.
There was a point of ugly crying.
The thing is,
like, stop. They took me out of the moment. I had to be like,
was Gia Harris.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I was like squeezing her she was squeezing me first.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was so sweaty and she would not let go of my hand. And I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, there's a point towards there's tears in the beginning of the movie. There was tears in the middle of the movie. By the time we get to the last 20 minutes of this movie, Gia was ugly crying so loud that it sounded like she was laughing. And I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe that this girl that a year ago had never seen one of these movies.
A year ago, she had no idea that Bruce Wayne's parents died.
Yes. And she is now so fucking moved by the things that happened in this movie. I was like, They accomplished something very special. Yeah. Real quick, I want to say, I said this last night, and I think it's very, very apt, that this movie is, I think, infinitely less rewatchable than Infinity War. I feel like that's the one thing Infinity War has over it, is that from beginning to end, Infinity War just feels like
Infinity War is more action.
This really feels like the first half of this movie is last week's Game of Thrones episode.
100%.
That is a character piece. It's giving us the conversations we need, a lot of dialogue, a lot of setup, but like not in a bad exposition way, more in a like, there's a lot of rules. We're going to give you those rules. We're going to play by those rules. And, every single character that you wanted to see talk to someone else or make reference to someone else or whatever, we're giving you all that. And then the second half is what I imagine this week's Game of Thrones is going to be, which is the payoff to all of that.
And I'll be honest, like there was never a moment I was bored, but there was a moment where I was like, I get it. In the first hour, I'm like, I get it. I'm feeling it. And then they give you more of it, and I'm like, still feeling it. And then they give you more of it, I'm like, I want to see someone fucking punch someone, okay? Something needs to happen here. And then it happens. You're like, okay, that's good. I'm not going to say that the movie's not, I mean, to me, it's a 10 out of 10. But I think they could have carved 10 to 15 minutes out of that beginning, and it still could have been as good. Having said that, I loved the emotional ride. I was there for it, but I can understand how people who aren't as big of fans as us might go in and potentially fall asleep that first hour. Like when Josh said he fell asleep, I was like, I get it. There's nothing in that. It's a lot of talking.
No.
But
It's a lot of talking.
This is unfortunate for a bunch of people that are going to see it because they're like, oh, this is a big thing. I guess I should go watch this movie, and they don't understand the 20, not even the 20, like the 6 key movies that like really you should have watched
Infinity War works
and
by itself.
understand.
This does not work.
And not at all. Not at all. Doesn't matter at all.
But I mean, but again, like everything else, you're gonna get more out of it. But like my wife hadn't seen Ant-Man and Wasp, and she's like, "Where the fuck is Ant-Man? Like, what happened to him?" And I'm like,
Did you not tell her?
"Oh, I was just like, he got stuck in the quantum zone." She goes, "That's enough. That's all I need to know." She's like, "That's fine. He was stuck in a thing. That's fine."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's why I think a lot of people. It's going to be interesting to hear the debate between Infinity War and this one on next week's MCU in review, because I do feel like there are going to be a lot of people who might put Infinity War a notch higher than this, just because it is such a tighter, more action packed, more same emotions, not as many, but same like heightened emotions that we get, and that feel we get at the end of it is there, but it's in and out in 2.5 hours, and it's just a lot more. It just moves at a better pace.
My argument against that, well, not against it, with what you're saying, of like I think there'll be some dissent, is that I do think that Infinity War, I fucking love Infinity War, and I don't know that I'm necessarily putting Endgame above it. Well, I want to watch it again, and we'll see. But
I think it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be really interesting.
I think that we've seen movies like Infinity War before with Empire Strikes Back. We've never seen something like Endgame before.
No.
Endgame succeeded somewhere new.
Riffing off the Empire Strikes Back comparison, like, yes, Infinity War is definitely that. And for me, last night experiencing Endgame, it's Return of the Jedi on fucking jacked steroids. It wraps up like stories that you need well, but there's still weird, like, there are still things that happened in Endgame, like Return of the Jedi, where you're like, I don't know if I needed that. Don't know if I needed that. And that's why, like, I loved this movie. I cried, like, fucking throughout it. But I don't, like, I think it might be my top 5, but, like, I'm still, like, in a weird place where, like, I don't know if it's even top 3 for me. Like, I think it's fucking awesome, but yeah. It's the Return of the Jedi of the series.
To me, it's what Return of the Jedi could have been if well, let's put it this way. It's what Return of the Jedi and Rise of Skywalker mashed together, all of those movies. Like, imagine Return of the Jedi if you also counted Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and if that was all one movie, I'm like, that's what this kind of is. But this is what I'm hoping Rise of Skywalker will be, and there's no way it's going to be. No. Just because they've fumbled the rock so many times on the way up to this.
I don't know. I think that they know, like, what's at stake.
But I think we're just not as invested in it, you know, because they just didn't. Like, last night was like watching your team, and here comes the sports analogy, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hunker down. Watching your team go 16-0 into the fucking Super Bowl, and then like the game of their fucking life. Like, imagine if your favorite team were like hard fought battle, won every fucking game. You're like, are they gonna do a perfect season? And then it was the best fucking football game you've ever seen in your life, and they win by like 1 point. That's what last night felt like. Where you're like, never gonna see this again. History has been like, I literally felt sitting in that chair.
Sirens are on.
I was very happy that my wife was with me, because I held her hand. I'm like, we're living through history.
Absolutely.
I legitimately,
in a stupid way. It doesn't make any difference in history. Like, it's not a historical event in that, like, we won World War II. But we are living through something that's never been done before,
but
and
this
that's
is
very
media
important.
history. This is like social media history. You know, this is.
Well, it's pop culture history.
Pop
for sure.
culture, yeah,
for sure.
I had so Paula works an hour north, and it's very difficult for her to get here at like 6:15. And I had to really like talk her into it, because also
I had a solid 30-minute conversation with my wife where she was like, "You neglected to tell me this film was 3 hours long," and I was like, and she's like, and I'm like, you gotta go. Sorry.
Well, I mean, like, I had a very serious conversation, and I had a very similar serious conversation with Cool Greg afterwards, being like, you need to make this happen, because someday my kids are gonna come up to you and talk to you.
Like,
about
what was
it.
that like? Just like
Yeah.
I asked my
Yeah.
parents, what was it like going through Star Wars? And my dad was like, I don't know, I wasn't really into it. And I was like,
That's
God damn
unfortunate,
it, Dad.
Really?
No, my parents didn't give a fuck about Star Wars.
No, but
Star
think about
Wars
it.
was such a key thing for me growing up because my dad told me the stories of being in the theaters, waiting to see Return of the Jedi, waiting for all that, and it's like that is instilled in me from a young age.
Now, granted, I was of the age where Star Wars was my thing, which is still why, like when I was
old.
born in '80, so by the time I think I saw Jedi in theaters.
But you were super
way.
young. You would have been like
That was 83.
3.
Yeah, that was 83.
I think my parents took
A
me to Jedi.
3-year-old does not have the power to understand
I
any
think
of
they
that.
still took me. I think they still took me. I remember seeing it on the big screen.
That's cool.
I think my parents took me. But
got to
I
watch-
definitely didn't see the first one on the big screen. I had to go back and watch it on like VHS
Yeah.
later. But Star Wars to me was my entire childhood, and that's why when I get very passionate about
Right.
it, that's the reason, right? Because that it was during my formative years. That it's a lot of me. A lot of me is Star Wars. A lot of me is those adventures, watching those over and over again on VHS or on TV when they would play. That's all we had, you know? And so seeing that trailer, yeah, I get emotional when I see Lando Calrissian back on the fucking Millennium Falcon because it makes me think of Jedi and it makes me think of him doing going in and taking out the stars or the Death Star
yeah.
that we fucking see again in this one. And it's like, holy shit, you know, this is important stuff. But sorry to bring it back to Endgame. And I don't know if we're going to go into spoilers or not, but
We will in a
Just-
minute, so keep holding spoiler free.
well, a lot of people are saying this is a great victory lap for Marvel, for all the characters, for everything. I don't know that I'd necessarily put it that way, but what I do think is, I think it's a really nice way for them to. I'm trying not to spoil anything. I think it's a really nice way to wrap it up. I think it's perfectly done, and I think what it is I think they looked and said, let's give people what they want. Let's infuse it with as much heart as humanly possible. They still, and this when everyone says, it's a comic book movie, or we get into the discussion of other comic book movies that might be lesser. This is a perfect example of like, the action works. You know why? Because by the time we get to it, we're so fucking caught up in the invested in the emotion and these characters and wanting to see them succeed, that when we get the things that we know we're going to get, we're hoping we're going to get, and they finally give it to us, it feels so fucking good and validating and earned. And then you can just, like the last 40 minutes of this movie, I was just like, can we rewind it? Can I just watch that again? And you guys know the part I'm talking
There's
about.
just so much happening.
So
where it's
much
just
fun.
like,
So many
and
great
it's in like the
moments.
best way, where it's like I was focused here, but I know that here there was so much
Other
else
shit.
that I'm excited to rewatch.
Yeah, there's shit that goes by so fast, and I'm like, who was that character? Oh, that was her. Okay, okay. Yeah, cool.
Look, I mean, it's really easy to compare this to Star Wars for all the reasons that we're talking about, and it's like to stay out, even out of the negative stuff with that, because like, I'm not going there. Where I am
No one is.
going is that a literal third of my life has been spent with these characters. 10 years. I'm turning 30. For 10 years, we saw the rise from it just being Tony Stark and then Nick Fury coming out and then being hyped for the Avengers, seeing that grow, seeing this world just grow and grow and grow and grow, and there hasn't been fuck-ups. It's like, I've said this last night.
There's been a couple small stumbles.
But,
Yeah.
but that's the thing is like,
But they
even
figured
the
Thor
stumbles,
out.
it's like Dark World is in my opinion the worst of the movies. It's still not a bad movie. It's still it's just
watchable.
compared to.
I think it's a bad movie.
I don't think it's a bad movie. And
I think it's-
that there's
I think
so many
it's-
great character moments and like what they do with Loki and all that stuff. It's great. So many great moments in a movie that is not as good as the other ones. You keep going, and if that's the one exception you want to make, sure, add Incredible Hulk, sure, add Thor 1.
I actually like Incredible Hulk. Thor
Cool,
1's
great.
not that bad.
My point
Yeah.
stands. There's so many great movies going into this, and 22. We're looking at 22 movies.
It's insane that they were able to
When
keep
we're talking
this
about
momentum.
Star Wars, there was 3 that we were talking about leading up to that. The Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
They nailed this for 22 movies, and this was the way that they stuck the landing.
And that's
Holy shit.
when we're like, oh, we don't live, like, this is never gonna happen again. Like, I think that Disney, but yeah, this might never happen again, but Disney will find a way to make a new version of this maybe 10 years from now.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
And let's hope it's, I mean, I don't think it'll be the same. I think it'll obviously be different. Disney's really fucking great. Well, I shouldn't say Disney. Marvel Studios are really great at giving you the exact same experience you had, but just a little different. And that's kind of what this is. In that there's not a lot of this that I couldn't, like, I was watching and going like, wow, that just totally blew my mind. Because a lot of this is just like, yeah, that makes sense. This is cool.
Oh, there were so many moments.
But they just give you a couple moments every so often where you're like, God damn it, that was really clever and really fun. And I think they have such a good mastery of this storyline and these characters and how to interweave these that they can step out of the line every once in a while and really kind of blow your expectations a little bit, but then still give you what you want, which is, I want these characters. I want this to kind of happen in a certain way. We can veer a little bit here and there and have some fun with it, but like at the end, I want to feel fulfilled by this. And I can't say that this happened with Star Wars, but I can 100% say that we're very. This is very special. We're very lucky to have these 22 Marvel movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's time to move into some spoiler territory.
Yeah, we're going full spoilers here. If you want to leave right now.
Barry, can you put up spoiler
It's
bros?
already up.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about, my dude. Where do you guys
Sean
want
Solo Texas says, do you guys think the Game of Thrones fight scene is going to be underwhelming compared to seeing Endgame?
Yeah,
It's going to be really underwhelming.
But here's the thing, like,
but it's going to be
it's-
awesome.
I don't think
It's a
it'll be
totally different thing
Yeah.
where it's like, this is like Game of Thrones
We're
has
in
been a
spoiler
character.
territory, right?
Yeah.
I don't think Jon Snow is going to stand in front of every character you've ever loved and been like, hey, Game of Thrones, assemble. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
but I feel like
like-
we're gonna get the equal moments.
But yeah, we're
for
gonna
that.
have a moment where someone gets stabbed in front of someone else, and we know what that bond means,
Dude.
and we're gonna feel it just as hard as they're
We'll
feeling
feel
it.
it. But there are moments in
You don't even know who
Endgame-
Podrick is.
There are
You're
moments.
good, dude. You're fine.
Everyone
Yeah.
knows Big Dick Podrick. There are moments in Endgame that are just like I clapped and screamed out loud, yes.
Multiple
And it's dumb.
times,
And my wife
multiple-
looked at me like, Jesus Christ. And I'm like, listen, lady, this is my everything, okay?
Multiple times in Endgame, I said, "Oh shit!" Just incredibly like
Oh, me
I
too.
was just so floored by what they did, because it's like you were saying, they gave us like. So many of things were like, oh, cool, I like what they did. But I felt like there were so many moments where it was like, we're getting a Hail Hydra moment from Cap?
Oh,
Are
my
you
God.
kidding me? Are you kidding me? We're
Listen.
getting Cap throwing fucking Mjolnir? Are you kidding me? Oh,
Dude, well, first off, when
So
when
good.
that scene, there's so many wow moments, and we'll have to go through them all. But I think probably top three.
well,
moments.
we don't have to go through all of them. We can do that
We're gonna go
on the
through all of them.
MCU. I'm just
We're gonna-
saying,
between the next two podcasts we do on this subject, we better cover all these fucking things.
I'm sure that we will in depth
But
next
there's
week.
the moment in this film when everyone's getting their fucking asses handed to them by Thanos, and you see the hammer, you see Mjolnir's the handle of Mjolnir just
yeah.
like move for a second, and then get sucked out. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And then the camera pans over and Cap's holding it. I'm like. And then it cuts back to Chris Hemsworth, and he's like, "I knew it."
knew it.
Oh,
like,
so
the most
good.
intense
So
moment,
validating,
and he
man.
sells that comic line of like, "I
He
knew
sells
it," and it gets fucking smashed.
And I think that's what Endgame does best, where it's like it's this giant roller coaster of emotions. But I feel like every time we move
Well,
to a
like-
different group of characters, the tone is able to shift with them. Where it's like we're having a serious moment with Thanos beating the shit out of Thor, and then we get Thanos getting knocked down, and Thor giving that like, I knew he could do it,
Yeah.
like in that giddy, childish way that he does. And for a moment,
But it wasn't even-
we all
it
are
was-
excited.
But it wasn't. This is what's the genius of Chris Hemsworth. It wasn't pride. It wasn't. I'm happy for my best friend. It's damn it. I knew he could do it. Like it's that moment when your friend beats you in a fighting game, but you've been beating his ass in like Smash Brothers for so long that he finally beats you. You're like, I'm proud of you, but I'm also a little jealous that you could do this because I thought I was the only one that could do this. Good line.
Yeah.
So many great lines. So many great moments of comedy. But that's what I'm saying. Like when people say it's the victory lap, I don't think it's a victory lap. This movie is a retrospective. This movie is like, let's go back and revisit all these amazing moments and see them from a different perspective and just have fun in that. Like the fact that they figured out a way to go back to all these awesome moments from the history.
And then Thor 2.
Yeah, and Thor too.
I
love
love
that.
dude, I
fucking
love that
hysterical.
they did that
Yeah.
though, because it shows how important all
They
these
got
movies
Robert
are.
Redford back. He fucking retired from filmmaking and they got him back for this.
Yeah.
Insane.
I'm sure
man.
they did it before he retired, but still.
Everything that they did in this movie was great.
Well,
and I
yeah,
feel
they
like
probably did it for
there was
Infinity
so many deliveries that they made from beginning to end. Thor cut off Thanos' head in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, my
Holy
God.
shit! Then Tony gets back to Earth. Immediately. Oh, and then Tony and Cap are fucking beefing. Tony's like, "Fuck you! I'm mad at you." And
You
I
should have
don't-
been
like-
there. You should have
and
been
I'm like,
on
I didn't expect that.
Titan,
There
yeah.
was so many things that happened, and we were talking about this last night. But that I'm so happy that we're not the writers of these fucking movies.
Yep.
They gave us so much more than we could have ever thought of, ever expected.
They gave
We
us
could write
Fat
the best
Thor.
fan
It was
fiction
great.
ever.
So good.
Fat Thor.
The
So
whole
good.
time. I thought he was gonna like get the lightning and get jacked
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
He was just,
Fuck that.
I
he
thought
was just fat the whole
when
time.
we first saw him, I was like, "Oh, training montage, they'll
Yeah,
get rid of it."
yeah.
Or later when we see him grab his hammer in his like clothes, I thought, oh, lightning, and he'll turn back into him.
Again, yeah.
But no, he just stays fat.
Ends the movie like the Big Lebowski, and there's just like so many references to the Big Lebowski. They're like,
So
what's
many.
up, dude? I love the part where they lean over. They're like, Thor, anything to add? Is he asleep?
I was
First off, Paul Rudd used like a goddamn scalpel in this movie. Okay, has two of the best moments in the whole film. One where he's like, where Tony's like, that man, that I gotta tell you, that outfit does nothing for your ass, and he's like, how dare you? As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass. And then that's Paul Rudd where he's like, that is America. He looks at his own ass.
Yeah, he does.
because
That
we
is
get
America's
a Cap
ass.
v
Dude,
Cap.
we get Cap
fight.
v Cap, and 2012 Cap says, I can do this all day. And the other one gets
like,
up,
yeah, I
I know.
I know. All right. We get that, but did you guys see the part where drunk Thor is talking about the ether? And he's like, it's very special. Oh, dark elves. Ooh. And they cut over to Paul Rudd. Everyone's like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
I know,
And Paul
Paul
Rudd's
Rudd's
like,
just like,
a giddy
oh,
child
shit, yeah,
listening
like,
to this
keep
amazing
telling
story.
me.
God, he was fucking great.
It's so funny because for like Paul Rudd's character, like this has been
It is
normal
America's
for
ass.
everyone, everyone that isn't Paul Rudd for 5 years.
Yeah, but
Where
he's
they
just
understand the
excited to
depth.
be,
Yeah, Paul Rudd is just like aliens
And you-
dark elves.
And you feel for it, like when he comes back and he realizes, like when he goes home and realizes that like his daughter wasn't one of the missing.
What a moment, man.
What
Fucking
a
great.
fuck-
He's
like,
you're so
beautifully
big.
And I think that was the
You're so
first
big.
moment where I started tearing up, and I didn't
was sad.
expect that because like Ant-Man's cool, but I didn't like have this emotional pull for him. But
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
seeing his daughter grow up and him not being there for that was
Yeah.
like,
Dude,
oh,
that-
I fucking
so
get it.
intense.
The fucking
beautiful.
beginning of the
But
movie.
to stay on this scene for 1 second, my favorite thing, a fan service that they didn't mean to do, but was an MCU in review reference that they made, where they're like, "You're so big." This is the girl.
Yeah,
and
shout
I
out
just
big
hear
kids.
Andy. He looks over at me and just goes,
That's so funny.
kids.
"Big kid."
I mean, there's so
Wait,
many
we were
moments.
talking about her, weren't we?
yeah,
Yeah.
That's what
That's
makes that
really
so funny. But yeah, the
fucking
beginning
crazy.
of the
The
movie.
The beginning of the movie, and that's why I say, like, listen, I was in. I love every scene. I don't think it's their movie. The fact that it was a little bit longer than I think it needed to be, I'm not fucking complaining about that. Right? It worked, knocked it out of the park. But that first scene was like so gut wrenching.
Yeah.
That I'm like, I didn't need to see the support group scene. I didn't need any of the other shit. That
Hawkeye
scene by
losing
itself
his fan- yeah.
sold me on how fucking terrible that moment was, where he's standing in the middle of a field and has no idea what happened. That was just like, I'm like, that's it, it's done. And then they kind of, I get it. We need to get
Before the Marvel Studios logo.
Crazy.
anything.
That's the
we
first
just
time
we
we
start
saw
on the
a
arrow
cold
of his,
open,
with his
yeah.
daughter, and he's like, and it's a great moment and a great scene. The two sons playing in the background. Linda Cardellini's still there holding it down, barbecuing. Who puts mayo on it? The hot dog. I was like, that is disgusting. Nobody puts mayo on a hot dog. What are you,
Gross.
fucking European? You're gross. That was great. And then, I think they dragged it out a little bit, but it's fine. I'm again, I'm not complaining.
I mean, it's just that's the kind of thing that I feel like you can't speed up. You got to feel it and really have like the audience
Sit with the moment.
sit with the moment and feel the silence.
yeah, but there's moments, there was just a lot in the beginning.
Yeah.
And
But
it's
here's
fine.
the thing: I felt like there was a lot at the beginning, but it was on fast forward. Like I think
I
felt
thought it was
like
on slow play, man.
That's
I was
crazy.
Like,
I felt
by
like
the time we got to the action,
it was
by the
every
time we
big
got
moment.
to Tokyo and we actually saw people do shit, I was like, oh right, this is an action movie. I was ready for it to pick up. I'll just say
But
that.
like this is a movie that takes place
so
after
happy
the
it didn't.
snap, and I'm so happy again with you that like it didn't. I'm so happy it was so slow and like
Give us one fight scene that matters instead of 10 fight scenes that are fine that we've seen in 22 movies.
That Ronin shit was
I
dope.
will say, like, this is the most nitpicky thing I can say about this movie because I'm just fucking in love with it. But the one thing that I thought was underwhelming was the Marvel Studios logo.
Yes,
And we
I
have
was
this-
also
we have this
interested-
awesome Hawkeye moment. The Marvel Studios thing starts and it's just playing a song that I'm not really that familiar with. I think it's by
Well, also the,
It's
the
interesting
actual
song.
Endgame logo wasn't that great either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I was
I
like,
thought
this
these were
kinda
going to be
sucks.
like fucking moments and it felt underwhelming.
But I will say this: they did something. They did something in the end credits that I haven't fucking seen.
Oh my
since
God.
Star Trek 6,
really cool.
which is the signatures. And
Yep.
I know you guys have never seen Star Trek 6, but Star Trek 6 is like the farewell to the original
Right.
cast. And at the very, very end of it, they put, instead of the names, they put their signatures. Like, and it's fucking amazing.
I mean,
It's
I
really
thought the end credits were just perfect, beautiful. I love how long that was. I love that they didn't just show people from this movie. It was like
the whole fucking
entire
cast.
MCU, and it ending, and when the Avengers theme kicks in, and it is the final 6, and you see their moments, and having Tony be the last one, it's just like
and then
beautiful.
the no post credits, but at the very end you hear
just
the hammer for making Iron
my
Man.
And it's what was it, the hammer from when he was building the first
Yeah.
Iron Man. I love it, and I love that there were moments where, well, actually, what I do want to talk to you guys about is Captain Marvel, and her use in the film, because I felt like that was unnecessary to a degree. Where I was
thought
like,
it was so cool.
I think it was smart because at one point I was like, there's no way she's going to be the one that beats Thanos, and if it is, that's going to be the most disappointing thing ever.
It wasn't.
Not because
She got beaten.
of her character, but because I'm like, you didn't earn that. Like, we need to. She can have a moment 7 films from now or 10 films from now, but it had to be Tony. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the moment that she had was the moment when
She takes out the ship.
Well, she takes out the ship.
headbutt.
That's a really cool. The headbutt's also really cool, but she's also the one that initiates the female moment where all
Oh,
the like
yeah.
So fucking rad.
which is
I love Captain Marvel in the last half. I did not like Captain Marvel in the first half. And
I thought she was barely in it.
No, she was. I don't like the fact that she was the one that brought them down, and it's implied that the Avengers sent her up to go get him. But how would they know where he is? Like, there's
well,
one.
they know where he
she's
is.
got a network of
They knew
people.
that he was going to Titan.
Yeah, but he was like
Right?
lost in space.
Who?
That's a good point.
Yeah, like, no,
I will say- I saw
but
a
it's
meme.
interesting that the post-credit scene from Captain Marvel wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that.
That's fair.
We had seen that scene enough.
Mark Ruffalo, the fucking Bruce Banner, knew that Tony went to space. So
That's right.
So he knew that, and probably a couple other people.
You figure
it was also
Wait,
on the
how
They
did he
knew he
know?
went to space.
How did he know he went to space?
because he
He saw him. They were in the fight in New York.
yeah, and then the next thing he knows from Iron Man is that Iron Man went up into that ship.
Yeah, and
Into
that
the ship. They don't know where the ship's going, though.
The ship's going into
They
space.
figured it out.
It goes to
Yeah, but how do they know it's going to? How do
She's
they
a
know it's
space
going to
person.
Titan?
She figured it
Yeah.
out. She probably knows. I mean, you have to
I
assume
thought-
people know what Titan is. You have
Yeah.
to assume people know Thanos is from Titan.
Well, they call him the
maybe
Mad
thought to
Titan, so-
I want to give a shout out to her haircut, which I really liked. But have you seen all the memes? There was a meme on, that I saw yesterday that was Kate Gosling from John and Kate plus 8. Remember that old show? And how her hair was just like slicked down,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it said, "This is the quote: Go get your manager haircut."
Oh yeah.
You're so lame, Nick.
I really quick
bless
want to
her.
go back to the beginning because one of the things that I was super scared of is that like everyone was like, oh, it's gonna be time travel. They're gonna do some quantum realm shit and travel.
Yeah, I remember
And
when we were even talking. We saw the suits. And we were like, "Are those space suits?" And then I think one of you guys
They
were
look
like,
like ghosts,
"It looks like
yeah.
a quantum suit
Yeah.
that Ghost would wear." Yeah, so we figured they were going to do that.
But
Great idea, by the way, and great use of that.
well, here's the thing.
As a tool.
I feel like I going in there, I was like, man, I really don't hope they don't start with like, oh, the time traveling clan. I hope that we get somewhere like they try something else. And I think them going to get Thanos,
Him destroying the stones.
him destroying the
It's so
stones,
great.
him getting killed, and then they cut to black, and we
years.
see 5 years.
later. What's great about
It's
that?
just so good.
What's great about that from a writing perspective is it really gives Thanos something to do. So follow me on this. His motivations as a character, I think, were really, really strong in Infinity War, and I was wondering how are they going to make him a strong character in this without. Like, what's his motivation? He's already won. Him going back, figuring it out, and then realizing the one flaw in his plan, and then coming to that realization as we're discovering it too, where he goes, I fucked up one thing. I should have killed you all and made it so that no one knew I existed, is fucking awesome. But, like, he has that moment where he literally sits down and is like, and you see him thinking through it of like, I got it. And I thought that was cool. And it made him very menacing of like, what's he thinking? What's he fucking doing? Why is he just sitting there? I don't like this. What's he doing? And they even have that conversation where they're like, you know, this is a trap, right? Yeah. I'm okay with it. Let's go. And they
Yeah.
go to kick his ass. They get the fucking shit handed at him.
But like, and I feel like they did such a good job at the end with those last 45 minutes or
Well,
so.
I mean, shout out to, I thought Hawkeye, I loved everything that happened with him. I loved they gave him a lot of stuff to do in this
Yeah.
movie. I thought that was cool. So much to take away.
Yeah, like, give me a second.
Go for it.
I feel like the last 40 minutes, what we got were like different stages of like fighting Thanos, where we start with just the three of them, and Cap picks up Mjolnir, and we see this incredible moment.
Fucking great.
And then
They have the trade off where he's like, you take the small one.
yeah. Well, and then more people come from Thanos, and that's where we get more people coming from the other side, and then it keeps adding to it in such a good way. Where if we had started with everyone just there, it wouldn't have been as impactful.
No.
Earlier in the show, we were talking about Ready Player One, and the coolest scene in Ready Player One is this giant battlefield scene where Godzilla's there and Gundams are there, and this is there and that's there, and literally everything in the kitchen sink's there,
The
and
least
nobody
earned
gives a
moment
shit.
of the entire movie.
Coolest thing that I can possibly imagine was not cool because I didn't care about any of the characters. They weren't doing any of the things that I wanted those things to be doing. This is the exact opposite of that, where it is all these characters that I'm invested in, that I love, doing the things that I want them to do, and doing the things that I didn't even know I wanted them to do.
Dude, there's a moment before that scene starts where it's literally Cap on his knees, the entire fucking Thanos army coming out of the ship, down, and Cap is beaten. He's done. He has
shield
nothing
is
left.
broken
Shield
in
is
half.
snapped in half. And what does he do? Bloody as fuck, dirty, stands up, looks at him, and tightens the motherfucker.
So good.
Doesn't say anything.
Giant
just
gash
tightens
on
it.
his,
Yeah, just
like,
fucked up. Like if I'm going out, I'm taking at least 10 of these motherfuckers with me. And then you hear on your left, Cap.
Oh God.
So good.
We have
Done.
fantasized
Fucking
and theorized how they're going to come back.
The only thing I wanted was I wanted there to be a moment, and this is selfish for me, where you saw Thanos running at him and a web hit him before I saw anything else. I wanted Spider-Man to come back before anyone else, but that's just me selfishly.
I love the character dynamics they built where at the end of this all, it wasn't about Tony and Steve. It was about Tony and Rhodey and Peter Parker and Pepper, and then we have Cap and Sam and Bucky. It's like, yes, these are the relationships.
Great
these are the
moments.
friendships. Yeah, we deal with the rest of it. That's what this whole movie was
Falcon
about.
coming in and stabbing people with his wings.
Fucking so,
Shit.
they made
Spider-Man.
Falcon cool.
Dude,
Instant
Spider-Man
kill mode.
instant kill mode, and we get to see those
He's
fucking
like, I got this.
arms.
I got this. I got this. I don't got this. God bless Tom Holland. And,
So
you know,
good.
and that's great, right? Obviously, like Tony has that great moment at the beginning where he sits and he realizes what he has. He has this amazing child and wife, and they have that great scene that fucking gutted me, where he's like, she goes, "I love you." He's like, "How much you love me?" "I love you 3,000." And then he walks over to Pepper. He's like, "Just so you know, she loves me 3,000." So, you know.
And then that
they
Tony
have-
having a kid, man.
but they have the moment where he's like,
Beautiful shit.
I figured it out. And that's a great scene too,
Yeah,
where he's
I
like,
can-
he sits
I
down,
can
he's
just
like,
shelve it.
because
I
you
can-
see the full weight of what's about to happen in his brain. And then he has a conversation with her. It was like, I can shelve it. And she has that great line where she's like, you know, the only thing I've been
wouldn't get
unsuccessful is stopping you from doing stuff.
Dude,
you know,
her final lines to him.
Tony,
You can
we're gonna be
rest
okay.
now. You can rest
Damn,
now.
I didn't put that together till right now. Because, like, she has that line where, or he has the line where he says, like, I can just put it in a box, throw the box in the lake, go upstairs, and get in bed. And she's like, but you wouldn't rest.
Yeah.
And then, that final line.
You can rest now. It's
crazy.
We're going to be
right
okay.
now, I'm feeling the feels, dude.
Yeah.
So I mean, all that, like, all the moments, but the best moment, obviously, like, you see all of them coming through the fucking rifts, the sorcerer rifts. You see all of Wakanda coming. You see everyone assembling, and we get the line where he just looks and he's like, "Avengers, assemble," and then it's fucking pandemonium for the next 40
all-out
minutes.
war.
It was
Just war.
It was better than I could have ever imagined, and I've thought about this moment countless times. But the way that they did the shot, they play the Avengers theme about 4 times back to back.
Yeah.
That's how long it takes to get through everyone. Everyone's lining up perfectly. The camera just goes. The pause between Avengers and Assemble,
It's so long.
in that, I started crying.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
legitimately,
you knew what he was gonna say, right?
The last 45 minutes of the movie, like, I was smiling. Like, my mouth, I don't think, ever closed. Because I was just so... no, sorry, not even 45 minutes. The moment the time travel started.
Yeah.
From then till the end.
So
but I
much
was
of
just
it.
like...
you mean the time heist?
Like
Time
the
heist.
time heist.
Where it's
But
like,
I was so
are we doing
into
a
it.
time heist?
But the Avengers Assembly thing, like, I literally just lost it. And I was just like... I was just crying out of just emotion that I'm like,
That's
I
a-
can't deal with this right fucking
That's
now.
a great moment. The moment where he has to give his dad advice on how to be a
my
father.
God.
That was
awesome.
that was my least favorite
I
moment
didn't
of
love
all.
it. I feel like
because I just
some of the
thought
writing there was a little wonky.
it was
I thought it was
wonky.
great.
Like, that was way too much of a, like, deep conversation for some dude to have with a random stranger.
Well, that's why it was so
But, like,
awkward, because he hugged him. And
the
he's
hug
like,
at the
"Thank
end
you
was
for everything
funny.
you've done for America."
The hug at the end was funny. Also, them being like that
Jarvis,
dude
we
with
saw
the hippie.
Jarvis.
Yeah, that was really
I
cool.
don't think the conversation was that bad
thought it was
because
great.
he was looking for like advice from someone who was a parent. So I don't think it
Yeah.
was that.
Yeah,
too
no,
out of-
I mean, I get it. I just thought that was all.
Well, Why was he looking for advice from someone who was a parent, though? That's weird.
That was my thing. Like, why is he in this elevator? Like, it was just one of
'cause
those.
he was
What a
bonding with the
happy
guy.
coincidence that like
And
he
again,
was there.
it's a
when-
little weird that he saw Peggy out, or Peggy, right? Peggy Carter.
No, that was
we got a lot of that.
awesome.
Yeah.
But
That was awesome.
That
I
was
thought
awesome.
about it.
I love that.
I thought about it, and I was like, well, yeah, they would have been on the base together, and they would have
Yeah.
been in these key places that where the Tesseract was held because they were
Yeah.
the two main stakeholders. You know, they're the ones that basically formed Shield, right? And at this point, you have
Right.
to assume Shield was still going because it's the 70s.
Yeah,
And
well,
Jarvis.
it was pre-Shield. It was
Which is
Jarvis.
awesome.
Yeah.
From Agent Carter.
Yeah.
The show.
That
That's
was
cool.
fucking
Yeah, they were
dope.
saying in
The
chat.
actor.
Someone was saying in chat, the
Jarvis?
first TV
Which
show
is like-
character to make it to a movie, which is cool.
Weird choice to make this late in the game, but fine.
No,
it was fun.
No, that shit was for people like me and Alyssa who love Agent Carter, and like we got our little moment of like, holy shit, it's him.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like
Does he
that,
have
though.
Paul Bettany's voice?
No.
No.
But he's
But
British.
he
It's
did
close
when
enough.
he spoke in the
close enough.
which I fucking loved.
Tyro Platter in the chat was saying it's normal for parents to do that shit because parents bond. I mean,
Sure.
that's
Yeah,
what it
yeah,
felt like
yeah.
to me. Is
I
like,
understand.
I'm worried you're a dad. Let's bond over this for a
But I
moment.
just great coincidence that he teleported right back to the time where he was in his mom like.
Well, it
when
was
his
the
mom
only time.
pregnant.
Yeah, it was the time they figured out they could get
Yeah.
both those things there. Well, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that. I love the New York scene. I love that the high school is wrong. And just for the love of God, the Hulk screaming too many stairs. Fucking,
Oh,
I was
my
like,
God.
how are they getting me with everything that's supposed to be funny? I'm laughing at.
Yeah.
There's too many stairs. It's ridiculous, right?
That whole scene was great, man.
Great
When it
scenes.
cuts to New York 2012, I love the use of titles in this movie as opposed to Infinity War.
2013.
Well, I loved Infinity War, where I feel like every time we got somewhere new, it said, including space, it was so
Yeah.
iconic. We didn't get that for this movie
Didn't need
until the time travel.
Yeah.
And then it was just like New York 2012. And I'm like, oh my God,
Yep.
this is the best movie.
There's a great
of all
part where he's
goddamn time.
like, Banner, get out there. He's like, hey, you gotta act like the Hulk. And he's like, God, this is degrading. And takes his
He
shirt
said it's
off.
gratuitous.
This is gratuitous.
No, I
That's what he
think it's
said.
gratuitous.
Hey, by the way, when you're on there, smash some stuff. It was like and that was so funny because it was like a little bit reminiscent of the Paul Rudd scene in Wet Hot American Summer, where he's just throwing things on the ground. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to do this. This is dumb. So many great little moments like that.
But I love
Yeah.
that it cut to the New York 2012, and right after we see the title, it cuts to the circle shot.
Yep.
And we get
Yep.
more of it after, which is cool.
It was just so fucking great. And then we get the pose shot. But I love that we see what happened after that. We're just like, are we just gonna stand here posing forever? No, okay, cool. And I love the scene after. And then they then meld that with the elevator scene
Yep.
from Winter Soldier.
So good.
And it's like,
And they go a
how
different
are
route
you this
with
good
it.
with this
Yeah,
fan
I know. I
service?
love
And
that the camera shots were exactly the same of Winter Soldier, and like I turned to Alyssa and I was like, "They're gonna fucking redo it. They're gonna redo it," and then they totally subvert your expectations
In the best
In
way,
the
though.
best way.
I'm gonna say
way.
this. I'm gonna say this. They exceeded my expectations on that
Yeah.
scene. My expectation was that he was gonna fuck those guys up, but instead they found a clever way to do it. And again, they gave me what I wanted. I thought he
Hail
was
Hydra
gonna.
might have been the biggest pop of the night.
That was
in the theater where people were just
unbelievable.
losing their shit.
He's like, trust me, don't worry about it. Hail Hydra.
And then
walks
I feel
out
like the
laughing at
Mjolnir
them.
being thrown was the biggest pop.
those two.
Yeah.
Like, there
Cap
were
had the
certain
best
moments, man.
moments.
Yeah,
Cap had all the great
Cap,
moments.
Cap had the best moments. I mean, Tony also had magnificent,
Man.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But not
His
even that.
final words are, I am Iron Man.
Which, by the way, if you point to it, and I love the homage there, it's obviously everyone gets it, but those are the words that really started this whole fucking thing. That last moment
Yeah.
of Iron Man, where they're like, he's like, oh, I am Iron Man, like, and that's it. That set the tone for the entire MCU. That's how, that one line is what like that was the nail in the coffin. That was like, let's fucking go. We're ready for this whole thing. Nail in the coffin is definitely not what I wanted as
But
far as like
it does the job, yeah.
It's what got it going, and I love that. And I feel like his snap, fuck, that was so good.
Yeah, it was.
Knowing that he was going to do it, and like it almost killed Hulk. You're like, oh shit, how's he gonna deal
They
with this
built it
power?
up very well.
Man, they killed it. They fucking knocked it out of the
It was
park.
amazing. I obviously we're all recommending this movie.
Oh god, yeah. We
Yeah.
didn't even talk about ScarJo.
Yeah.
we didn't talk about that. The second they got on the ship to go to Vormir,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, one of them
one
has
of
to
them.
die,
Yep. Yeah.
and they
I
didn't realize
thought
that.
they did it very well, too.
Yeah.
'Cause, like,
They had a fight
Well,
to see who would kill them, like who
was
would save the
cool.
other person.
I
It was
really
so
feel like
cool.
it could have been a lot cornier than it ended up
Yep.
being.
Dude, he fucking shot a missile at her.
I feel
to
like
keep
it
her.
could have been slightly better if they didn't play the exact same music.
No,
from
that
didn't bother
Infinity
me.
War.
Dude, I love that they played the sacrifice music. They played that multiple times in both Infinity War and in Endgame. It wasn't just during that scene.
Oh,
It's
really?
anytime there's an emotional moment of characters dying, like that song is playing, and I like it because it like that builds consistency and like a through line of sacrifice.
That's fair.
I absolutely love that scene. I love the ramifications from that scene.
Yeah.
Like I love that. Like we have this fucked up, crazy dark Hawkeye, and that now he has the weight that like read on his ledger.
Yeah.
And that's what he's going to continue to live with, that Black Widow had. But I hated that, like when they cut down, she looks like she's in the same pose.
I liked that. See, I thought that was.
I was like,
I thought it was a nice touch because I think that was obviously it was supposed to mirror the whole thing was supposed to mirror
right.
the Gamora dying, and I actually liked that. I liked that they put those things in there because it's like it has a lot to do with the inevitability of what that stone means and how they get it and all that stuff. I just thought it was cool, and I like him waking up in the same thing of like this is what you got to go through if you want this stone. I thought it was very well done. And I love that last scene where she's hanging off and he's not gonna let her go and she just kicks off the fucking thing.
Yeah, she's like,
so good.
And all she says is, "It's okay." And
It's okay.
And when he says please,
oh man,
not okay.
I mean, dude, we were tearing up over Black Widow and Hawkeye.
I know.
Think about that.
Let's
It's insane.
see. Shit, I lost it. Someone in the chat was saying RDJ. Oh yeah. Homeboy in the chat said RDJ in the credits got a huge pop in our theater also.
Yeah.
When he was the last big credit with the signature, I was like, oh, he's done. That's it.
dude. But also,
We're never gonna get him again as Iron Man.
Iron Man's death was beautiful, but like
So good.
I fucking love Captain going out the way he did.
Oh my god.
Like,
Well, and
damn.
yeah, I
what a
mean-
great, like, are there questions? Absolutely.
Well,
I
I mean,
think they'll
look,
answer them.
Yeah.
a month from now, all of us are when the hype settled down and the emotions are gone. A lot of people are like, they fucked a lot of shit up in the past.
No, not
that's
if
not
he
how that
didn't
works.
do anything.
No.
As long as he doesn't do anything and he just lives like a normal person,
There's just another time.
there might have always
Do you
been
think-
two Steve
Do you
Rogers.
think he popped out a couple super babies with Peggy?
I'm sure that he did.
There's
and
a couple
I'm
50-year-old
sure
Captain Americas walking around.
not 50. I imagine like because there should be some slower aging when it comes to him.
You would imagine so.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see.
I love
I'm
that.
so excited for the future.
I thought it was an interesting decision to pass the mantle to Falcon and not Bucky.
yeah,
I liked it though.
No, I liked that.
I liked it, but I was like, that doesn't make logistical sense because Bucky's a super soldier and Falcon is just a dude that has wings. But cool.
But that's what it's like in the comics.
They'll figure out
now
some way
as
to make
well.
that cool.
Yeah.
Where in the comics, Falcon was given the title of Captain America.
Well, they both were.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that Bucky belongs in Wakanda at this point. It's like get him over there, and I think having Falcon in America representing America.
Yeah, but I think that's not exactly what's going to happen. Like, we do have the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, and yesterday you made an excellent point where you're like, it's not called the Captain America and Winter Soldier show.
I have a feeling like this movie sets up the Disney Plus shows so beautifully.
Yeah.
I imagine now we're gonna get Loki with the Tesseract in 2012,
in a different-
2012 Loki doing all that
different
stuff.
reality.
And I imagine that by the end of it, he'll figure out some way to bring it back to the point so that shit's reset.
Yeah.
He redeems himself.
Yeah.
Then we get the Scarlet Witch Vision stuff, which I imagine is going to be based on the Vision comic that was amazing.
But the opposite, where it's
Scarlet Witch bringing
Scarlet
him
Witch,
back,
yeah.
and it's all fucked up and dark. And then the most important one is Falcon and Bucky, where you got to imagine it starts as Falcon and Bucky, but by the end of that show, it's Captain America and Bucky, where he like finally believes in himself and he's like, "Fuck it, I am Captain America."
dude, can you imagine seeing him in like the Falcon suit, but with Captain America colors?
Yeah, dude.
That's going to be something
Man,
amazing.
Let's quickly touch on some of the end scenes.
Yes.
One of which I thought was fucking. It just makes me think that Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt can do no wrong. Now, sadly, we're setting up well, I shouldn't say sadly, bittersweetly, we're setting up a Guardians of the Galaxy movie that instead of Gamora, we get Thor in that.
Well, Gamora. The funny thing that I thought about last night is like, so Gamora now is gonna be, assuming that she survived the snap at the end, which they didn't really get into.
I don't super
sure she
believe that.
did.
I don't think that she did.
She 100%.
I think that she did.
Why wouldn't
Yeah.
she have stayed with
I don't
future
feel
Nebula?
like I don't feel like they would
Or
have
present
pointed.
time
I
Nebula.
don't feel like they would have pointed out that he was searching for her if they
Exactly.
don't have plans for her in the future.
I think there's going to be some shenanigans.
She's
where
100% in this. She 100% lived.
I think there's some shenanigans where they're going to try to get her out of the Soul Stone, and I think that's how they
No,
bring back
that's-
Black
No,
Widow
I
someday.
think they did this perfectly because I think that they set up that they had that moment where she kicks him in the balls twice and he's like, the first one missed, the second one got both of them, and they have that
So
great
good.
line where she's like, this guy, and Nebula goes, well, it was either him or a tree.
yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
And so she must have said, hey, you had this amazing family.
Yeah.
You fell in love with this guy. And so she's got that rattling around her head, but she's a different Gamora.
Gamora
And
is
so
Letty.
we're going to get that scene. We're going to get that relationship with the next Guardians.
But there's a lot of questions, though. I feel like this is one of the few things that doesn't make sense with the information we have. Because
What?
when Tony snaps, why wouldn't Gamora have disappeared? The argument would be, it's like, oh, maybe only Thanos and his army disappeared, but she turned good,
Well,
so she
first
didn't
off,
disappear.
did he know
But then
Gamora-
where would she go if she's just stuck on Earth?
If she was stuck on Earth, it would
She's a
make
green
sense
woman.
that she's staying with Nebula, like our current Nebula, because like that's
It's also possible
the
she was on
only
the ship
person
and we
she
just didn't
knows.
see her. She was
Then why
on
would they
Milano.
be searching for her, then?
No, yeah,
Were they
he wouldn't be.
searching for her?
Yeah, he was
That's
at the
what
end.
sounds
He was
strange.
searching.
Yeah. Again, I
I
don't
mean,
think
they
they
might
would have
over what
said.
they're like.
Oh yeah,
doing.
good point. I mean, again, we have a reality on Earth now where ships come and go. We have Captain Marvel. We have much more, a lot more traffic coming here. So presumably she just got on another ship and left. That'd be my guess. And I think Guardians is going to be the B story is going to be him
Yeah.
trying to win her back.
I
and
just-
fall in love with her.
story.
Yeah, I think it's the A story
Right.
too.
Whatever. I think it's one of the main storylines.
I think he's gonna
in it.
have. It is gonna be hidden.
But dude-
so it is the what moves the movie forward, but no one knows until later that he's trying to figure where she is.
Yeah.
I don't think that the past version survived though.
I think
just-
she 100% survived. You have to figure with Tony. Like first off, Tony didn't know. Like, did he even know Gamora at
No,
all?
yeah, I know,
Had
that's
he
what I'm
even
saying.
seen her? So you have to assume what he thought that went through his head was
Is
kill
everyone-
everyone that's on Thanos' side right now,
And
and
she
she wasn't on
wasn't.
Thanos' side, so she's good.
That's the thing. I don't think we'll ever know what he thought of when
But
he snapped.
you assume that Tony's smart enough to figure out like what's the right thing to snap.
Yeah,
And
but
he killed all of Thanos, all of people, anyone that was. I would have been like anyone loyal to Thanos gone right now, truly loyal to Thanos gone, and she wasn't.
I would have
She'd
thought
already flipped.
everyone go back to their correct time.
And by the way, you're not getting her out of the Soul Stone. We already established like
Well, the
twice
Soul
now
Stone,
that
the Soul
no one
Stone
can
is
come
gone.
back from the Soul Stone.
The Soul Stone is gone,
It's
right?
not
They
gone.
all got destroyed at the beginning of this movie.
No, but they took him and put him right back into the time.
Yes,
the time
but then
zone.
that time
So
continues
that
the
Soul
same.
Stone's back on Vormir now, right?
No, it's gone.
The Soul Stone, Thanos still kills all the stones.
Yeah, okay.
And then gets decapitated. That's how Thanos actually dies.
Yeah. In our timeline.
Yeah, our timeline.
That's crazy. Anyway, I think she's alive. I think the majority of the next movie is going to be about him trying to rekindle something with a Gamora that is out of time, out of place, has no idea what's going on, doesn't love him, and there's going to be a lot of fun scenes that happen in there. But also, I fucking hope Fat Thor's with him because I love the line where he's like, "We all know who's in charge here. You."
Yeah.
So good.
He said it 3 times, and the third time killed me.
I
it's you.
in Parks and Rec. You didn't watch Parks and Rec,
I
right?
watched a little Parks and Rec.
So in Parks and Rec, Chris Pratt obviously lost an insane amount of weight for Guardians of the Galaxy. And when he comes back as a much fitter man, they're like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, I just stopped drinking beer."
Yeah,
Turns out,
he's like, "You just stopped drinking beer. That's it, huh?"
Yeah.
That's it. That's
It's
all.
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it. Turns out.
I hope that when we get the next Guardian movies and we see him and he's fit, we get the reverse thing where he's like,
he's 100%
"Yeah, I stopped drinking
gonna be-
beer."
Yeah, he's 100% going to be jacked in the next
Yeah.
one.
A couple people in the chat are pointing out of this weird thing with Far From Home, right? Where Far From Home takes place after Endgame, comes out in a couple months, and at the end of this movie, when Peter goes back to high school, we see him meet up with Ned again, and Ned is like crying that he's seeing Peter. So it's implied that Ned survived. So
I don't think so.
I don't
Really?
think that's
Yeah.
Because like
Ned is the same age.
yeah, he's the same age. And my
Otherwise,
thing
he'd
there
be-
is I feel like he's just happy because he knew that Spider-Man's gone. So I think
Yeah.
he's just happy that Spider-Man's back.
Oh, see, I
No, well-
got that they both got snapped and they were just seeing each other
Yeah.
after 5 years of not knowing what the fuck was
Well,
going
it
on.
wasn't
It was
5
very
years.
it
emotional.
for
wasn't
them-
5 years
For them, it was insane.
For them, yeah, it was
But
just
the emotion of everyone coming
Exactly.
back and seeing each other after this big battle and him realizing all the ramifications. And like you have to remember, going back, and this is the only like kind of fucked up part of this story, is that everyone else would have moved on at this point.
not only moved on. There's a bunch of people that died that didn't get brought back.
Like Tim, if you got snapped, you better believe Gia Tap Harris is being like, I'm mourning you for a year, and then I'm going to do some Orange Theory. I'm getting over it, and I got another man in my life. So there's lots of fucked up shit that's going on.
No, I
She
mean,
was-
I love this though. I love that they left it here because there's questions, and I guarantee
Yeah.
that Marvel's going to answer them. If they don't, that's the death of the MCU. Like
No, they'll answer them.
Yeah,
they've
no, that's
shown
the
us
thing.
for
They understand.
22 movies that when they put something out there, people are going to ask questions, and they better have fucking answers. The Cap thing does not make sense. No, any way that you put it right now, it doesn't line up. They got to figure out a way.
It literally, like, the rules that they set up at the end of the first act going into the second act with the time heist, what he does
Breaks
goes
that.
breaks all of those rules, and it doesn't make sense.
But
But
why?
it was still like an emotional payoff because it goes into the rules of the thing that they say in the beginning of the movie or the beginning of the time heist is like the rules of Back to the Future and all that stuff don't apply here. And then the fact that he was able to go back in time and still live out his life and then stay in their timeline goes back to the Back to the Future rules and not the rules that they set up of like all of these weird.
The past can affect the future. Like
Yes.
that, they've set that up, and the reason that this doesn't make sense.
If you're using the Infinity Stones, because we see the distinction of like if you use the Infinity Stones, they change timelines. Using an Infinity Stone in the past will create a new stream.
No, it wasn't
That's
using it.
why-
It
No,
was
it's
taking.
not.
It was.
It's
She
taking
said
it.
taking the Infinity Stone out creates an alternate timeline that can fuck everything up. That's why he had to. You have to assume that Captain America's job was to live from 1945, right?
It wasn't his
in.
job.
His job was to live with those stones, and every time that someone discovered the stone, he had to put it right back into where it was in the timeline of when they took it.
No.
His
He was
job was to
traveling
go to
through
each,
time,
the
yeah.
same time they stole from and
And put 'em back.
at that exact moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought his plan was I'm going to live, and then
No.
every point where they went and took him, I'm going to sneak back in and put him right back in.
The only thing that would make sense, and it actually doesn't, but hear me out for a second, is he does all that. He uses the different. He got all the Pym particles, right? He got like the 4 or whatever. He takes them back in the same places we saw in 1970s, the 2012, 2014. Goes to all those places, puts them back where they want to go, and instead of coming to our timeline, he goes back to like the past, which then splits off into a new timeline where he's with Peggy, right, and grows up, and like they have their life together. And then once she dies or whatever happens, he uses the last one to jump back and be here to meet them. He knows where he's meeting them, so like he can just come back to that time, right? That doesn't make sense though because Hulk's looking at the portal, and that's where he'd have to come back out of.
I don't think. I think that the way they're using time travel, I think as long as he didn't do anything major, it like as long as he doesn't introduce a second Captain America, we may have always had 2 Steve Rogers at the same timeline and not known. Like that was always gonna
But how
happen.
does he end up in this timeline?
I don't know.
But I'm
a lot
saying
of it's confusing because
he
DJ
might have
Kenter brought
already
up a point.
always been in that timeline.
But DJ Kenter brought up a point. Was like, how is he going to get to? Like he was talking about when I was saying like, oh, if he's going to live from 45 and just put him back as he goes, how would he get to space? How would he get to space anyway? Like,
No, well, I mean that's not
you
what.
see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
how would he have done any of the stuff that's
But
off
what-
Earth at all?
But because when they were traveling through time, it also teleported them wherever they wanted.
Okay, so
Yeah.
he would have had to go directly to Vormir.
Yeah. So
Drop it off.
he
yeah, that had
definitely
to have
went
been-
directly
That had to have been the case. yeah.
directly back to all these places and just placed the stones back, which is kind of weird for places where they like blew things up and like in when they get in the 70s they go and like blow that thing. Did he just leave it or does he somehow fix things? Like is it no interaction at all? I don't know. It's
know.
all very
How do
interesting.
you get it back in the fucking? How do you get it back in that thing that burns your hand off?
I mean, I think
I
the
toss it
biggest
in, I
question
guess.
is Vormir. It's like, what, you just toss it back in the
No, I
water?
think you just give it back to the dude. Hey man.
No,
Give
but
it back.
the,
Red Skull.
Oh, yeah.
the Russo
Yeah, okay.
the Russo brothers have said that once
Although that would have been a cool scene to see.
Once
Hey,
he's-
Red Skull, that's where you went.
oh yeah, they've been interesting.
up?
The Russo brothers have said that like once he gave away the stone, he was free. So he
Red
might not
Skull.
even be there.
Interesting.
But you
Yeah.
figure
No,
there's
but
got to
he's
be
back in time,
another
though, right?
person there though.
He's going back to that moment though.
Where they
Yeah.
get the stones?
Where-
It's all
yeah.
very confusing, and I'm very interested because if he goes back to the moment before Natasha kills herself, then shouldn't
Isn't she
Natasha still be alive?
No, because she
Well,
was
no,
gotta
let
that's
that
a different
happen.
timeline. Natasha doesn't come then. It's just coming to that moment to put the stone back. That timeline then closes. That timeline we're now
Interesting.
back to
It's
just the one
this is
we're
all
at.
like it's
Yeah.
all time theory
It's-
and like
yeah.
I honestly think like if you think about it too hard, it means there's like 15 different
Plot holes
timelines
and
now
shit.
It
that
doesn't,
everyone
though.
fucked up.
It doesn't.
Well,
It
yeah,
means
'cause
that
there's only
like
2.
5, and seeing Cap at the end of this implies that 4 of them are closed. So right now,
It depends on
the
it
only-
depends on which time theory you're thinking about. If it is the
But
Back
the
to
one
the
that
Future
this-
time
but
theory,
it's not. It's
it
the-
means there's multiple.
But it's not.
But it's not.
the
They
one
tell
that
us
they
it's
tell
not.
us
Yeah,
it
but just
is.
them telling us it's not. They didn't tell us an alternate reality for what it could be. Them going back and doing it still, like even him living in the past still would have changed everything.
All right.
Totally changed everything.
I
There's
think
a
enough of
Loki
the time
timeline
travel.
right
I think
now.
that- yeah,
There's
Peggy- like,
2012, and there's
Peggy's-
the current timeline,
Right.
and then there's the question of what happened with Cap.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But the
there's-
cap has to be an alternate timeline, but it's not. It's the same timeline that we're in.
We don't know. He could have always been there and lived in secret.
But that doesn't make sense because that is splitting a timeline. That is 3. At some point, he could have jumped over to this other one in a way
How
that
do
we
you
don't
jump?
know.
Yeah, I mean, how
That's
do you
the thing.
jump?
That's what they need to answer.
Yeah.
If they ever decide to.
That's
Shout
all
out-
confusing.
Yeah, let's get away from the time stuff.
Barry.
Shout out to the Tony Stark funeral of just like them going through
the Viking funeral.
all the different families and stuff, and showing like
I gotta pee.
kind of just like the history of like he started it all and he got all of these people
Mm-hmm.
together in some way, shape, or form. And then like the weird, I remember once we got to like we saw the Guardians and then we saw Cap's team. And then there's that one random teenager at the end. And
Iron Man 3, baby.
Yeah, and like
Can't
I remember
believe it.
turning to Alyssa, I was like, "Who's that?" She's like, "I don't fucking know." And then we left the theater, and you were already on it. You're
Yeah.
like, "Dude, it's the kid from
It's
Iron Man
fucking
3."
hard.
Tim looked over at me and went, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck. And he's like, that's a kid from Iron Man 3. And I was like,
So random.
how do you
So
know that? But hey,
weird.
He
cool.
looked like him. He was the fucking kid.
Oh, these white kids look alike to me, man.
God.
Fair.
All right, well, now it's time to hear your guys' thoughts. Last week, I asked you on the bronze tier Patreon level to give me your Endgame review, and I said make it short and sweet, and you guys were like, fuck that, I'm going to talk a lot. Let's start with... Tommy Newton. Hey, Big Kev. First time writing into Screencast. Well, thank you for that. Endgame had the best possible outcome for this universe, considering the sheer amount of characters, their relevant story arcs, and setting up the future of the MCU. This movie was great. Not without flaws, of course. Mark Brinskel. I think I pronounced that right. Pronounce all the letters, and there's an E at the end. Mark, hit me up on Twitter if I didn't. Brinskel. Amazing movie, totally destroyed me. Thank you, Stan Lee. Ron says, as someone who thought Infinity War was a mid-tier MCU film, which is crazy as a statement, I loved Endgame a lot more with a smaller core cast. Joe Scott says, straight to my number one in my ranking. I must have cried 5 times, cheered more than that, and by the end, I was wholly satisfied. Tied everything together unbelievably well with only a couple of clunky moments. And then our last review from Connor Bryn says, Endgame review. The beginning was excellent. The heist dragged on way too long, but the end was the best thing to happen in the MCU. The moment where all the women of the MCU was corny as fuck, but holy fuck, it was dope. Cap finally said Avengers Assemble, and Korg playing Fortnite had me in tears. Expected more deaths. Whenever Rhodey was with Nebula, I was sure he was dead.
Dude.
And yeah.
The Rhodey scene, it's so fucking good, just showing that he's a hero.
Yep.
Where he saves Rocket and Hulk. And the way that he does it is leave his fucking suit as somebody that is crippled and fucking saves him, because that's how much of a hero
He doesn't
is.
save the Hulk, though. He
Doesn't
just
he?
saves Rocket.
He saves Rocket.
Sorry.
Yeah,
And then
Ant-Man saves them both.
Yeah.
Sorry. Expected more deaths and more Captain Marvel, but I'm happy we didn't get either. Not a fan of Captain Marvel, and obviously don't want anyone to die. So unanimously, I could not find and there were a lot of submissions. Thank you guys for submitting your reviews. I could not find a single one that wasn't glowingly positive. Like the most negative one was the guy that said that it wasn't perfect. You know? And like no movie is, but like fuck, this movie was good. I'm so extremely happy that it's happened, and I can't wait to watch it again. There is some questions with all this time travel stuff that is loopy as always, but God, that's time travel, you know?
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, it's one of those where I don't want them to answer any questions. I just want to do the next thing. I don't want them to have to go back and start now explaining things, because there's too many loose ends. And honestly, it's not going to make any sense no matter how you cut it. Because
Right.
time travel is a physical impossibility. And if we understood it, we'd be a lot smarter than we are.
Absolutely.
So we're dumb. We were never going to understand it. Let's move on and do the next, whatever the next phase is. Fuck it, who cares? They knocked it out of the park.
It's crazy that Spider-Man, which is still in phase 3, like right around the corner, I am so excited to see how this world reacts to all the changes that
They fucking better.
Yeah,
I'm worried they
it's going to
won't.
be crazy. What do you mean?
I'm worried that Far From Home is not going to address any of this stuff, and it's like, that's not okay.
Well, I don't think it's going to... You mean any of this stuff?
Well,
You
it's going to have to.
time jump.
You have
think
to
that it's
assume.
before that?
I'm saying it better either address it or be before it.
They have
It
to
can't just be
address
like,
it.
oh, this is the world we live in.
Oh, they've said that this is taking place after Endgame.
I don't trust him though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have to
I'll
assume
believe
we're
it
going
when
to
I
get
see
some
it.
scenes with him like thinking about Tony.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like,
that
for sure
trailer
there's
is
news.
absolute. Where he says in the trailer, like, I don't need
Wanna
to
be
be
Spider-Man
Spider-Man.
right now.
That's absolutely because Tony died.
I'm not saying it's not after it. I'm
He's
just saying I
saying
don't
they
trust
better-
them saying it is. Like, because it takes place moments after. It's like, all right, cool. We'll see.
It'd be awesome if it just picked up right in that hallway.
Yeah.
would
That'd be,
be
I mean,
crazy.
honestly, and they have a conversation being like, man, it's crazy we both got snapped.
It's
Right.
crazy
And
that all those
all-
kids that were in our class are not in our class
Yeah.
anymore because they're 5 years older.
But
it's crazy that
thank
one of
God-
them was one of our teachers. Whoa.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
be hot.
Three of them.
No.
Three of them out of the like this small crew was able to like I guess they got snapped because Zendaya is still the same age. We've seen like
That's what I'm
clips of
saying.
her,
We've
yeah.
seen like 10 kids.
Yeah.
His whole class must have got snapped, which is not
impossible. No. Anywho, I think that that's enough of a review. If you want to hear us talk more about Endgame, you can join us on next Tuesday at 11 a.m. on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames where we will do
MCU in review, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are all on everything. Nick is at Nick_Scarpino. Tim is at Tim Gettys. And I am at Kind of Funny Kevin. Thank you so much for joining us today. And go see a movie this weekend.
Go watch The White Room or whatever the fuck it was called.
Dude, the trailer looked good.
White Claw.